Douluo, my martial spirit is a system. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226 Poison Bat 3. Fei was very thankful that he had hidden the Huan martial soul very early on. The so-called hidden state is Fei's unique power bestowed by the villain of chaos. Even under normal circumstances, it is possible to carry out the power of the spirit-possessed state, and at the same time, it will not reveal the shape and spirit ring of the possessed beast spirit, and even the breath can be hidden. The engraved martial soul is basically not a martial soul, but it is just the evolution of the chaotic martial soul, but it has more powerful power than the original martial soul. From this point of view, in fact, if the chaotic martial soul or Fei himself wants to become stronger, if not, then you need to obtain a more powerful martial spirit. But from Fei's point of view, his most special replica spirit may be the Izanami spirit, but this Izanami spirit is mainly of the control type, and the control type soul master is very important to Fei. It's really not interesting, but it's not annoying. This is a poisonous bat. I know this kind of soul beast. The gregarious soul beasts are highly poisonous, and ordinary attribute soul skills have no effect on them at all. But Fei, how could you? The two rounds of soul rings on Ziyu's body reflected each other, and at the same time, the meniscus blade in his hand was vigilantly facing the poisonous bat above. He knew that this kind of soul beast was a very terrifying existence. At once. No, suddenly, Ziyu looked at Zhu Jiangxing, who was lying on the ground. The wound that had spread from the poisoning was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the breath of the whole person seemed to be recovering, as if it was an injury in an instant. It seems to have fully recovered. Is it the leaf just now? How is it possible? How can the poisonous bat's toxicity? Ziyu looked in disbelief, but if Zhu Jiangxing really didn't have the treatment of this leaf, it might really be the end of the game. After all, he is well aware of the toxicity of this poisonous bat. My martial spirit can heal all injuries. Yi Lanshan replied lightly. Although she also integrated into this team, she didn't seem to have much interest in other people. It seemed that she only showed another side to Fei. Sword Star? Huo Rao supported Zhu Jiangxing with an anxious expression on his face. Although Zhu Jiangxing's injury was recovering quickly, the sadness on Huo Rao's face still couldn't dissipate. Fei said from the side, everyone come to protect Jian Crossing first and let him recover. We must pass here quickly. There are too many poisonous bats in this cave, and we can't use our full strength in this cave. Yan stood up, and his colleague raised his hand, and a terrifying flame surged with one hand. Just now, Fei, your purple thing is also a flame. The poisonous bat disappeared without a trace the moment it came into contact with it. The shadow disappears, right? Then, the flame must have an effect. The poisonous bats will then attack the guy who finds them walking. Don't look up at them for the time being. Besides, the general flames and attributes of the poisonous bats can't help at all. I'm afraid Fei's flame is not simple, right? But if only Fei is alone, I'm afraid it would be terrifying to anger this group of poisonous bats. Even with the treatment of Seventh Sister's magic leaf, we can't be bitten all the time, right? In that case, we'd be bitten by poisonous bats before reaching the end. What Ziyu said was quite right. Even with Yi Lanshan's ability to heal, it's impossible for the group of them to rush out under the bite of poisonous bats, right? No, brother, didn't you say that poisonous bats are only hostile to them or those who observe them? We don't seem to have any malice towards them, right? At least they haven't attacked us now, have they? Hulina looked at Ziyu with some doubts, but she didn't raise her head to look at the top of the mountain out of curiosity. After all, Zhu Jiangxing was probably bitten by the poisonous bat because of raising her head just now. Do not. Before Ziyu could answer, Fei had already raised his head to look at the group of poisonous bats. They are already testing us. If we move forward now, they will definitely attack us. Seeing Fei raised his head, Ziyu and the others also stared at the poisonous bats on the top. The poisonous bats hidden in the steaming mist lit up their special eyes, and the low sound of gnashing their teeth seemed to be very special. Just like what Fei said, if a few of them moved forward, this group of poisonous bats would definitely directly attack them. A group of them shot. Besides, although Zhu Jiangxing is recovering from his injuries, he is still unable to move. If he is carrying Zhu Jiangxing on his back, his speed will definitely slow down, and it will definitely be very troublesome for Fei and the others to face such a group of poisonous bats without two combat powers. We have to stick to it. Fei looked at Zhu Jiangxing, who was gradually recovering, and according to the situation, Lanshan, how long will it take for Jiangxing to recover? Yi Lanshan said, soon, because the poison he got was not that severe, and he didn't exercise, so the poison didn't spread all over his body. It won't take long for him to fully recover. That's it. Really? Diane? When Huo Rao raised her head, she could see that her eyes were slightly rosy. It could be seen that Zhu Jiangxing's sudden injury was really a big blow to her. At the same time, it could be seen that Huo Rao really cared about Zhu Jiangxing very special. Quack. The poisonous bats seem to have been peeping for a long time, and they seem to have discovered that Fei and his group are not very powerful, and they are probably about to start attacking. Just when Fei was about to arrange the positions they needed to protect Zhu Jiangxing, the poisonous bats directly attacked them. The target was no longer Fei, but Zhu Jiangxing, who had collapsed on the ground and hadn't fully recovered, and that posture was a group of dozens of them directly attacking Zhu Jiangxing and Huo Rao. Look at me, some stinky bats. Yan waved his flaming fists to disperse the attacking poisonous bats again and again, and Yan's flaming fists actually had a special effect on dispersing the group of poisonous bats, although it couldn't directly burn the flying poisonous bats like the flame Fei used, but also dispersed those poisonous bats who wanted to attack Zhu Jiangxing and Huo Rao. Yan was also at a loss. Why do I feel that my flame has become more special than before? It seems to have more intense heat and control power as I like. While dispersing the poisonous bats, Fei said, maybe it's because of the elf brew last night. The power of the elf brew is very special, and the effect on each person is different. Maybe it's for you, brother Yan. It is said that it has enhanced its flame attribute. End of this chapter. Chapter 227. Meeting the Millennium again. A mass of burning purple flames was released in an instant. The strong tension seemed to ignite the air in the entire space, and the poisonous bats kept thumping towards Fei and the others, as if they were not afraid of death. One side attacked, and they all wanted to cross the flame defense line built by Fei and Yan and directly launch the deadliest attack on the injured Zhu Jiangxing. Huo Rao may be worried, because she was just staring at Zhu Jiangxing, letting Zhu Jiangxing's head lie on her lap, as if she had forgotten all the people and things around her, and even the dangers that occurred. At this moment, only herself and the two Zhu Jiangxing who were sleeping were asleep. Fei and the others suffered. Fei is not a guy who can stand his temper. Even if he doesn't want to do some things, the group of poisonous bats going back and forth like this is really annoying. If this continues, it will really be a problem. It was a waste of stamina, but it was impossible to use a powerful attack in such a cave, and it was still unknown whether there was a soul beast that was more difficult to deal with than the poisonous bat. So they could only wait where they were, waiting for Zhu Jiangxing to wake up, and then they rushed out together. Fortunately, Fei and Yan's powerful defense built by relying on flames made those poisonous bats suffer a great loss. Wave after wave they all turned into fly ash and disappeared without a trace. These poisonous bats are not afraid of death at all. Once they recognize something, they won't stop attacking unless the opponent dies completely. Ziyu is also very depressed. A group of people are crowded here and dare not use their own soul skills. If it hurts other people, it will be extremely difficult to do, and as time goes by, their wedding will gradually be consumed. However, Yi Lanshan's words seem to be a way to save his life, but no matter how much he saves his life, it will not help if Zhu Jiangxing doesn't wake up soon. Xiaofei, or else you carry Jiangxing on your back and take 7th sister, Nana, and Huo Rao forward. After Yan and I break up, let's leave this ghostly place first. At least find a spacious place where we can show our hands and feet. Fighting with this group of poisonous bats, if I were here, I would almost die of suffocation. I could only wield my blades to fight, and I couldn't use my soul skills at all. Fei glanced at Yi Lanshan, and he still had to ask Yi Lanshan about this point. Lanshan, if Jian Crossing moves now, will the toxin spread? If it spreads, Zhu Jiangxing must not be able to move, even if they continue to fight with this group of poisonous bats here for a while. But these poisonous bats really come in waves one after another. Stop, it seems endless, and Fei killed so many poisonous bats only to find that these poisonous bats are not even 10-year level soul beasts, which is even more abnormal. Just considering whether there will be a 1000-year level poisonous bat soul beast in this cave. In that case, the toxicity and means of the opponent must be beyond their expectation. If they don't leave here quickly, they may really suffer a devastating blow. Yi Lanshan said expressionlessly, it doesn't matter, this toxin has a certain paralyzing effect, so the reason why he hasn't woken up is that his body is paralyzed. Presumably the toxin in his body has been completely eliminated. Is this the case? In this case, we can go. Fei patted Huora on the shoulder, looked at Zhu Jiangxing who was lying flat, and said, let me come. Fifth sister, let's go a little way ahead with Jiangxing on our backs. If we stay here, maybe there will be even more powerful ones. The poisonous bats were attracted. Fei didn't want to leave if he could. He was a little afraid that there would be some more powerful soul beasts in front of him, but if he stayed here for a long time, it would be even worse if he would attract those terrifying soul beasts. It was expected, but one thing is certain is that there are more powerful poisonous bats yet to come out. Huora nodded. Okay, I'll open the way for you. Brother, let me stay here to help you. Anyway, there are 6th brother and 7th sister protecting Jiangxing and Rorao. It may be difficult for the two of you to face these poisonous bats. A violent flame instantly ignited a cave, and the poisonous bats that fell into the sea of flames all around screamed one after another. Yan turned his back and said to Huoro, there is no need for this. Ziyu and I can deal with it. We can all use it as a range attack to kill these poisonous bats. You will really be very dangerous here. Ziyu, who was waving the moon blade, also said, that's right, Nana, you should leave as soon as possible. It's very dangerous here. It's not like you don't know the poison of poisonous bats. You'll be fine with Yan. Hulina also seemed to see that her soul skills were not limited, so if she stayed here, it might cause trouble for Ziyu and Yin, so it was the best choice for her to leave now. Fei carried Zhu Jiangxing on his back and rushed forward, while Yi Lanshan controlled the flames and leaves to illuminate the front, but there was not much room to be illuminated by the fog in front. Fei just noticed the surrounding area. There seems to be no poisonous bats in the cave, which is good news. At least they will not be hunted down by poisonous bats. And Yan and Ziyu at the back saw that Fei and the others had gradually disappeared into the white mist, and they also began to kill the poisonous bats that kept coming up from all around on a large scale. Hahaha, finally you don't have to tie your hands and feet. Yan, you stand back for a while. I want to let this group of poisonous bats see whether their bites are more poisonous or my dark moon evil beasts are more poisonous. The second dark yellow soul ring on Ziyu's body instantly lit up, and the raised moon blades turned into moon shadow blades, and then launched a crazy attack on the poisonous bats on the cave wall, and especially the black mist directly attached to the mountain wall. This is the means controlled by Ziyu. The poisonous mist of the dark moon evil beast will blow up in the form of moon blade, and will be fixed in one place with the control of soul power. So what Ziyu has to do is to make the dark moon the poisonous mist of the evil beast is attached to these poisonous bats, and then you can sit and wait for these poisonous bats to fall one by one. Compared with Ziyu's approach, Yan looked much more normal. The flame turned into a long whip and was controlled by soul power to completely illuminate the surrounding caves. The poisonous bats really kept falling down, and soon the original layer of poisonous bats attached to the cave disappeared, leaving only the poisoned bats on the ground that had been poisoned to death. The flames burned countless poisonous bats to death. Go, follow. End of this chapter. Chapter 228. Meeting the Millennium again. Ziyu and Yan defended while retreating, and their defensive form was also very peculiar. Yan used the flames to form a burning wall of flames to block the poisonous bats chasing and killing them. At the same time, Ziyu continued to cut out moon blades towards the outside of the flames. The moment the moon blades touched the poisonous bats, they turned into the dark poisonous mist, then wiped them all out. The speed of retreating was also extremely fast, and those poisonous bats really had nothing to do. Yan's flame wall was too powerful, and once the poisonous bats approached, they were instantly ignited the other side. Fei, what's wrong with me? Where are we? Hey, why does my neck hurt so much? Zhu Jiangxing raised his head in a very special way, which seemed to be caused by the wound on his neck. The moment he opened his eyes, he didn't seem to know anything about the situation around him, as if he had lost his memory for a short time. Sword Star. Huo Rao stopped in front, hurriedly ran to Zhu Jiangxing's side and asked anxiously, how is it? Does it still hurt? Is there any discomfort on your body? You were poisoned by poisonous bat attacks just now, and there are too many of those poisonous bats, so I, Lanshan, and Huo Rao will take you forward first, and brother Xiao and second brother Yan will cut off the rear. Should catch up in a while. Zhu Jiangxing frowned, showing a trace of pain on his face. I'm fine, I just feel dizzy. Is that so? Remember when I just looked up and saw many pairs of eyes blinking above the cave? Is that what you call poisonous bats? After Zhu Jiangxing woke up, the surrounding area did not seem to be as dangerous as he imagined, and Fei's speed also slowed down a little. After all, there are two people behind Ziyu and Yan. It would be a little difficult for Yu Yan to put a long distance away. After all, no one would have predicted whether there would be any sudden danger in this cave. Lanshan, don't you think it's weird? Fei turned to look at Yi Lanshan beside him. Yi Lanshan was slightly puzzled. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Fei looked towards the cave. The poisonous bats that appeared in this cave are not even the most basic 10-year level soul beasts, but after such a cave, will Master Undead prepare us for such a simple trial? Must be a 100-year level soul beast. Fei couldn't imagine that there would be no century-old poisonous bats in such a cave. How could such a large group of poisonous bats not have one or several century-level poisonous bat soul beasts? You want to say? Yi Lanshan was taken aback for a moment, then reached out and grabbed Fei who was advancing, and at the same time said to Huo Rao, stop, there is something in front, there is a terrible poison. Surrounded by thick fog in front, it is impossible to see anything clearly. What's even more strange is that the illuminated leaves originally lit by Yi Lanshan can't even illuminate a 1 meter long route, which is almost the distance of an arm's length. Is there poison in front? Fei tried his best to open his eyes, but he couldn't see clearly what was in front of him when his eyes were darkened. But if he really felt it carefully, it seemed that there was really such a dangerous feeling spreading all over the place, and even kept lingering in my heart. Close to. The poison is approaching. Yi Lanshan explained slowly, I can sense the existence of the poison. There is a poison not far from us, and it is constantly approaching. Sense poison? Yi Lanshan said, it can be regarded as a characteristic of martial souls. Of course, it is not so easy to find poisonous substances that are not hostile. For example, those poisonous bats just now are not soul beasts to a certain extent, so we say, even if it has the poison attribute, I don't care much. Fei stretched out his hand, feeling the fog near his eyes, as if he was feeling it. The fog is really thick. So thick that it is impossible to see what is in front of you. No, or it should be said that Fei and the others have been completely surrounded by the fog in such a short period of time, and they are constantly playing outside. Stretching, Fei couldn't even see clearly his raised hand. Not good. What's the matter? Fei? Why is the fog getting thicker and thicker? Zhu Jiangxing, who was lying on Fei's back, raised his head to look at it in confusion, and then put his head down again, as if he was a little tired just looking up. Fei glanced sideways. Yi Lanshan had already been dragged to his side, and Huo Rao was already leaning against Zhu Jiangxing's side. Is there any poison in the mist of Lanshan? Fei hurriedly grabbed Yi Lanshan who was beside him. Fortunately, Yi Lanshan was still by his side, otherwise Fei really didn't know how he found out what kind of existence the so-called poison in front of him was. Yi Lanshan said, no, it's just a pure white mist with no toxicity, but the poison is still approaching us. Maybe this is why the white mist is getting thicker. Poison? You pretend to be a mysterious guy. Fei smiled slightly, since the white mist that surrounds it is not poisonous, it is very simple. Summoning the Villain of Chaos, Ji-Fei directly controlled the Villain of Chaos and burrowed into the mist in front of him. The Villain of Chaos will not encounter any danger, and the Villain of Chaos will not be like an ordinary martial spirit. If it is hurt, it will also cause harm to Ji-Fei himself, and the Villain of Chaos is not simple. If this white mist, if there is really any poison in it, maybe the Villain of Chaos swallowed the poison directly into his own stomach. Chaos Villain, go and eat that poison. Ji-Fei smiled and waited for the Villain of Chaos to return, and also believed that the Villain of Chaos would definitely be able to get rid of the poison, whether it was a spirit beast or something else. We'll just wait here for a while. Langshan, you can always sense the movement of the poison in the mist. For example, like the giant monster bird before, the Villain Chaos dealt with it 3 times, 5 times and 2 times, and even helped Ji-Fei gain control of the giant bird. Maybe this time the Villain Chaos can do it too. What about such a thing? That way it must be much easier to have a poison to cover and do something about. Is that Villain okay? This poison seems to be very difficult. Yi Lanshan said slowly. The chaotic Villain is different. Before Ji-Fei finished speaking, a white shadow suddenly appeared from the mist. End of this chapter. Chapter 229. Meeting the Millennium again. Ouch. The chaotic Villain was photographed directly from the white mist and made an anthropomorphic cry, which shocked Ji-Fei. This chaotic Villain can actually speak. No, this is not the most important thing. The important thing is that the Villain of Chaos was beaten back. Yi Lanshan also stared blankly at the little chaotic man photographed on Ji-Fei's head. The transparent little chaotic man raised his hand and gently rubbed his forehead. Although he couldn't see its specific expression clearly, no matter what, no matter how you look at it, it's the complaining type. After all, Ji-Fei just threw it into the unknown mist point, perhaps facing this terrifying poison. Even the Villain of Chaos is no match for him, or is it too big? Even if the Villain of Chaos opened his huge mouth, he couldn't swallow it. This is not right. The huge monster bird and chaotic Villain can defeat it. Why can't it work here? Ji-Fei was slapped in the face in an instant. Just now he was bragging to Yi Lanshan that, if the Villain of Chaos, Liu would definitely be able to get rid of the so-called poison, and Yi Lanshan had to pay attention to the movement of the poison in the mist. The fog is very thick. No, it should be said to be thicker than before. Ji-Fei turned his face to the side and couldn't even see Yi Lanshan's figure. He could only open his eyes and see Yi Lanshan's eye-catching light green hair. Maybe this will dissipate in a while. After all, this diffuse fog is really scary. Zhu Jiangxing, who was on his back, was lying on Ji-Fei's back, and it seemed that he hadn't recovered enough to fight alone. Huo Rao worriedly grabbed Zhu Jiangxing, and he didn't seem to have any intention of fighting. The words of the Chaos Villain will fail? How is this possible? Even if it is really unbeatable, the Chaos Villain will definitely swallow it? No matter how you say it, it's like this. Even if it can't swallow the whole body, but half of it, it will swallow half of it, or even a part of the body, right? Under what circumstances would the Villain of Chaos choose not to eat it? Suddenly, Chen Zhu thought of it and said at the same time, I forgot, the little chaotic Villain seems to have a serious cleanliness habit, and he will never eat some disgusting things, which means that the poisonous thing approaching in front of him is a very disgusting soul beast. Quack. PFFT. Hiss. Suddenly, accompanied by a sharp cry, Huora yelled in pain. Ji-Fei tightly grasped Yi Lanshan's hand. The surrounding fog was so thick that it was impossible to see the specific environment, or what was their special soul beasts and the like. Come here. Huo Rao. Huo Rao. Zhu Jiangxing raised his head with difficulty and glanced to the side, but he couldn't see anything, only the bright eyes and the ever-flowing mist. Other than that, there was nothing. Huorao? Huorao? Ji-Fei also turned his back, but the fog was so dense that he couldn't see anything clearly. Ji-Fei even felt as if his 5 sense organs were cut off. Now he seemed to be in a vacuum area. I can't find the slightest clue at all. Huora didn't reply. Maybe she passed out or was taken away by something. These are all possible. No. Huorao. Zhu Jiangxing jumped off Ji-Fei's back by himself, and it took a lot of effort to stabilize his body. The whole person is much better than before. Zhu Jiangxing stretched out his hand and groped around, groping in the thick mist. Ji-Fei, there is a poison near us. It must have been attacked by the poison just now. I can feel it. It seems to be able to see our whereabouts clearly. Huorao's condition is very bad, so it chose to attack Huorao, saying maybe it's a poisonous bat soul beast. The poisonous bat's words are enough to make you disgusting, and if you know that poisonous bats don't need sight. By the way, where is Sister Nana? Why haven't we seen Sister Nana along the way? It was only after Yi Lanshan reminded Ji-Fei that Hulina was not by their side, as if they hadn't seen Hulina's figure since they stayed here. Isn't it going to go back to find Brother Xiao and the two of them? We can't control so much now. According to what you said, our current situation is very dangerous. Giant crossing, you must not move around. Huorao is sure nothing will happen. It's okay, I'll find Huorao, you two just stand there. It's all my fault for letting Huorao relax. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. While talking, Zhu Jiangxing explored the surroundings. He touched the stone wall or the mist, or he was lying on the ground looking for traces of Huorao. Poisonous bat? If it's pure darkness, we can find its trace even with our eyes, but this white mist. I have a solution. Ji-Fei suddenly shouted excitedly, since your white mist keeps spreading in front of my eyes, then I will use my special black mist to touch you. Izanama's martial soul instantly possessed him, and Ji-Fei's appearance underwent special changes. First of all, the extended hair, one purple, one dark yellow, and one purple soul ring instantly bloomed. In an instant, the second soul ring lit up. The dark mist around Ji-Fei instantly pressed over and squeezed the white mist to the other side, while the nightmare fog released and spread by the nightmare soul skill was extremely fast, and the effect was even more astonishing. In just a split second, Ji-Fei's vision became clear in the mist. This is the special power in his nightmare soul skill. As long as the people around him are under Ji-Fei's control, it is possible to obtain a complete vision in the black mist. Maybe they could not see the surrounding environment in the white mist before, but it is completely different now. Ji-Fei has obtained the vision in the black mist of his nightmare. The most complete view. Huorao. Zhu Jiangxing found Huorao's trail near the edge of the stone wall. She seemed to be photographed there, then slammed into the stone wall fiercely, and fainted. She looked like a chaotic villain who was captured by an invisible force. The power snapped back instantly. Ji-Fei. Yi Lanshan didn't speak, but used the message between two people, which made Ji-Fei very puzzled. Why would she still use this at this time? The few of them should communicate with each other about the solution, before they can escape from here, right? The poison is on it. That's right, it's a 3000-year level poisonous bat. It doesn't seem to realize that we have gained vision, so it is looking for the next opportunity to make a move. Before Yi Lanshan finished speaking, Ji-Fei manifested a martial spirit again in an instant, and a green bamboo sword instantly struck Zhu Jiangxing with several sharp blades. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230 Mirror Image 1. Ji-Fei's sudden slashing of the blade towards Zhu Jiangxing also had his own purpose. Yi Lanshan's prompt was timely, or rather accurate. If Ji-Fei followed the usual habits, he wouldn't even think about what would appear above. This is also the case, even if he unfolded the nightmare fog by himself. This may be a shortcoming of Ji-Fei himself, who doesn't know how to find these small details hidden in the tiny details. Boom. The light blue-green bamboo sword light was about to land on the top of Zhu Jiangxing's head in the blink of an eye. I didn't know what happened, but suddenly a black shadow just landed on the light blue sword shadow and issued a series of howling and roaring sounds. In the black mist, Ji-Fei finally saw clearly the figure of the so-called 1000-year-old poisonous bat. Ji-Fei sneered. It seems that it is as he predicted. The target of this poisonous bat is to deal with Huorao and Zhu Jiangxing first, and then deal with him and Yi Lanshan. But this poisonous bat never imagined that he would be the ultimate. The courier actually happened to meet the sword blade that was cut over. The overall appearance of the poisonous bat can only be described in two words: disgusting. The whole body is pitch black, and there is a disgusting liquid-like substance flowing on the spread wings, and the overall appearance gives people the kind of it feels as if I just took a bath from the smelly ditch and then flew into the sky again, not to mention how disgusting it is. It's no wonder that the chaotic villain is unwilling to eat the poisonous bat, even if he is photographed by the poisonous bat. This chaotic villain's cleanliness must be changed. Hands tied. Well, Fei made such a decision very quickly. The chaotic villain lying on top of him seemed to feel endless malice, and stood up alone. The Kunwu sword in his small hand instantly condensed into shape. His eyes instantly fell on the 1,000-year-old poisonous bat who was slashed by the sword blade, and attacked to the side. The feeling of the chaotic villain was as if he had seen our incredible enemy, and he seemed to be rushing to its side in the next moment. As expected, at the next moment, the villain of chaos jumped up and killed the 1,000-year-old poisonous bat with the Kunwu sword in his hands. The danger that can be seen is no longer a danger. If it is based on the previous situation, it may be difficult for Fei. After all, in the dense fog, he simply cannot find where the opponent is hiding, and the opponent is still a poisonous person. A bat like a soul beast that can spy on all their whereabouts without eyes is really too difficult to solve, but fortunately, Fei has the nightmare soul ability to completely restrain this monster. Even if the poisonous bat does not, you can also use your eyes to move around in the nightmare soul skill, but Fei's goal from the very beginning was not to restrain this 1,000-year-old poisonous bat. As long as he has the vision to deal with this 3,000-year level poisonous bat, it is completely easy for Fei. There is no need to use other powers at all. The eye's enemy martial soul alone can be consumed slowly. Fei didn't have to think about it. If it wasn't for finding the vision to draw out the poisonous bat, Fei wouldn't need to use any superimposed martial souls at all. Besides, it seems that Fei doesn't need to do it himself now, because the angry villain of chaos seemed to have rushed forward with the Kunwu sword in his hand, as if he was about to start beheading. Is Lan Shenhua alright? Fei shook his head. Let the villain of chaos deal with the poisonous bats. Maybe he just laughed at the villain of chaos and so on. Maybe the chaos villain just raised his hand. If he didn't need to use his soul skills, the Kunwu sword inside rushed to the front and directly hacked this poisonous bat to death. Yi Lanshan was observing Huo Rao's situation. Huo Rao was blown away by the poisonous bat, and she didn't know if she was attacked by the poisonous bat's venom. A poisonous bat, which is not considered a year-level soul beast, has already reached that level. If Huo Rao was bitten by a poisonous bat of this level, then the degree of injury is simply impossible to estimate. Yi Lanshan's words were relatively relaxed, and she didn't feel any special sense of tension. Just because of this, Fei could tell that Huo Rao's words shouldn't be a big problem, even if Yi Lanshan was really attacked by the venom of this poisonous bat. If there is a recession, there must be a solution. It's nothing serious, it just hit the stone wall and passed out. Zhu Jiangxing helped Huo Rao to tidy up her loose hair and stroked Huo Rao's small face gently. Rao Rao. The other side. The chaotic villain is suspended in the air, and the whole person exudes a special light. The short Kunwu sword in his hand exudes bursts of ferocity. The scattered blood red light cut the poisonous bat. Most of the blood has been taken up. Fei admired the chaos villain's fighting power very much. It was too terrifying, especially when holding the Kunwu sword in anger. Even Fei himself would have to back away. I'm afraid that the chaos villain's own strength is definitely not inferior to the Soul King. Even the Soul Sect is not necessarily its opponent. Crack. The chaotic villain's attack method has no rules, just slashing horizontally and vertically, playing a sword like a big knife, but the effect is still extremely obvious. The poisonous bat turned into a cloud of blood mist, and was instantly killed. Messy blade breakdown. The villain of chaos threw the Kunwu sword towards the sky, opened his mouth, and swallowed the Kunwu sword, then clapped his hands, and returned to the top of Fei's head, as if he felt that there was no need for it. What did you do? And you just disappeared. It seems that I don't need to control it at all. This chaos martial soul is quite intelligent. Fei sighed slowly. A round of purple soul ring slowly floated in the air. After the death of the poisonous bat, the dense fog around seemed to have thinned a lot. At least Fei could see some things around him. It seems to have returned to that normal feeling again. Phew, this chaotic villain. Well, it seems that I cannot shoot, if I can in the future. It is definitely a good choice for me to exercise the laziness field. The greedy word seems to be pretty good, but the greedy field is really not so good. As a practitioner, I actually don't like gold soul coins very much. I'm most suitable for the lazy domain, and the power of the lazy domain is to control nature and make copies. End of this chapter. Chapter 231 Mirror Image. 2. Things like domains are far away to Fei now, but they are definitely not things that he can't figure out at all. If I have to say, the best domain power or the deepest domain that Fei has mastered right now is the lazy domain of Cthulhu Douluo. This domain is really suitable for Fei. Others may need to deliberately, however. Fei's words mean that he is practicing at any time, and there is no need to deliberately practice at all. The field of laziness is exactly the same as the first two words of these four words. As long as one is used to laziness, one can gradually accumulate it. Fei has even figured out a set of special cultivation methods, that is, talking less or even not talking and not moving. What kind of brains must use absolute strength to crush the opponent in battle, and the speed must be fast or even reach the level of a spike, so that there will be no waste of physical strength, and maintain a high cold state at all times. Just like when they and immortal Douluo met evil god Douluo for the first time, his haughty appearance was like this. Fei, why are you still here? Don't you hurry up. Huo. Giant crossing, you two? What's wrong? Is there still this 1000-year-old soul ring? Well, Fei admits that it is impossible for him to keep silent all the time, and his position in the team does not allow him to maintain such a silent state for a long time. PFFT, Fei, don't think about how to become lazy. My code name is lazy. You should learn to collect treasures and other things with teacher immortal. Yi Lanshan's words alerted Fei, but Fei didn't feel that way. How could he love money? Wouldn't it be enough to spend gold soul coins or something? Does it need to be like an undead Douluo? Wherever you go, it will be nothing. It will never reach that level. It's okay. I met a 1000-year level poisonous bat, but it doesn't matter if I have already dealt with it. If Huorao and Jiangxing are both injured. Third sister, you really didn't keep up. I just noticed. Who are you worried about when you go back in such a hurry? Yi Lanshan teased slowly from the side. That's right. It was Hulina Xiao and the three of them walking quickly in the mist outside. Judging from the state of the three of them, it seemed that there were no poisonous bats chasing and killing them, or those poisonous bats had been completely captured by them. Solved it. What? You said that you encountered a 1000-year level poisonous bat, and you wiped it out? Isn't that right? Things like poisonous bats will definitely block your sight, and then attack you, right? The words of poisonous bats you don't need to see, that you can react quickly just by feeling, right? Ziyu looked incredible. It was already very difficult for them to deal with those ordinary poisonous bats, but Fei actually dealt with such a 1000-year level poisonous bat. Isn't it too terrifying? It seems that they still underestimated Fei's level of strength. Fei actually wanted to say that it was actually made by his martial soul. The chaotic villain was stimulated by his own words, so he directly hacked the 1000-year level poisonous bat to death with his sword. Others offer a more complete view. Before Fei could reply, Hulina on the side said, "Brother, have you forgotten? The sixth brother's Misty Soul skill can provide vision for himself and his teammates. So if I guessed correctly, it must be that the sixth brother released such a soul skill, and then provided vision for others, and killed the poisonous bat with force. It must be like this. Am I right? Also, Langshan, I'm worried that my brother and Yan are stupid enough to wipe out the group of poisonous bats alone." Hulina looked at the comatose Huo and felt a little helpless. Isn't this really unlucky? Of the 7 people, only Huo and Zhu Jiangxing were injured, and it seemed that the group of poisonous bats had been chasing Zhu Jiangxing and Huo. But this is quite normal. After all, among the 7 people, only Zhu Jiangxing and Huo are relatively weak in terms of fluctuations in their soul power. The group of soul beasts are only a little brainy, so naturally they will attack them first. Think weak guys. After all, the fixed idea of a soul beast is to deal with weak guys like this first. I have encountered so many dangerous things just after entering this cave. I don't know what kind of dangers I will encounter after I go deep into it. It seems that Teacher Undead has really prepared an extremely difficult trial for us this time. Fei nodded and said, but there is no way around this. Even if the trial is extremely difficult, we can't choose to give up. Otherwise, how can we become stronger? Poison bats are restrictions, limiting our full strength. Then the next step, it may be a counterattack, and it must be more difficult to counterattack. Fei's guess is very correct. The current situation is a situation where all their strengths are suppressed. If they continue to move forward, the difficulty of the trial will continue to increase. Then let's wait for Huorao and Jiangxing to recover for a while before moving on. Others naturally agree with Fei's proposal. After all of them are a little tired at this time, especially Ziyu and Yan. Long-term consumption of soul power to attack is a kind of pressure on their own consumption. It would be a very stupid idea to keep going like this and move on to the cave. It doesn't matter, the group of poisonous bats in the back seems not to dare to approach this way. We were wondering why this was before, but looking at it now, it may be because there is a 1000-year level poisonous bat here that they dare not approach. Let's walk this way, but this is also good. Why provide a rest time? Let's recover your own state quickly. The fog dissipated slightly, and everyone else sat on the spot and adjusted. Fei didn't consume much, but he also liked the time to rest, take a break. At the same time, consider the next route and the situation to deal with. No one knows what will happen next and what situation they will encounter, but the only thing that is certain is that it will definitely not be easy. Beast group. Especially the appearance of the Millennium Poisonous Bat made Fei feel unprepared. This kind of soul beast is very special, and this kind of environment is suitable for this kind of soul beast to fight. If it wasn't for Fei's nightmare soul skill, the poisonous bat is completely invincible in the cave. End of this chapter. Chapter 232 Mirror Image 3. Fei and the rest of the group had almost rested and chose to move on after letting Shichen look like that. This is not because they have rested, but the time of staying here is uncertain and the danger is also uncertain. When encountering such terrifying soul beasts as poisonous bats, they have to put up all their energy to deal with some unexpected situations. Besides, no one wants to stay here for a long time. The partitioned fog is really uncomfortable. Zhu Jiangxing and Huorao also returned to their previous state after resting. They are almost normal. What Zhu Jiangxing said was paralyzed by the poison of poisonous bats. Huorao's words were only caused by the impact of a strong external force. In a coma, Yi Lanshan once again distributed a special leaf to the two of them and gradually recovered after taking it. Yi Lanshan's healing effect is self-evident. Whether it is in the state of using the martial soul or the normal state, it is very terrifying. Even Fei would not regard Yi Lanshan as an auxiliary soul master, but a real resurrection soul master in Ziyu's eyes. The poison of poisonous bats is just something that can be dealt with just 1 or 2 leaves in Yi Lanshan's hands. Yi Lanshan also has a special search for poisons and dangers hidden in places that cannot be seen clearly and methods of perception. This special cave is like a road leading to an unknown area. It is not straight and very dangerous, especially very long. Even Fei and his group have been unable to find the real exit of this cave road after walking for so long. After walking for almost an hour, there was finally a turning point. To say it was a turning point, it would be better to say that Fei and the others came to a brand new area, a rare area in this cave. There is such a wide space in this cave. Looking around, Fei, who was walking in the forefront, raised his head and looked at a wide area with a height of more than 20 meters and a width of 60 meters. The surrounding fog disappeared completely, as if this was an isolated vacuum zone, and the surrounding mountain walls were also. It means that this place is not another world they entered by mistake, but a simple cave. Fei, where are you looking? Just as everyone else was wondering why there was such a wide cave here, Yi Lanshan pointed to a stone wall in front that reflected a special light and tugged at Fei and said. The eyes of Fei and others were quickly attracted to them because they were separated by a distance, so they could not see very clearly and could only vaguely see that the direction of Yi Lanshan's finger seemed to be a mirror, which reflected mirror of light. Is the exit behind the mirror? Ziyu looked around and found that, although there was no fog blocking their sight here, the surrounding stone walls were perfectly fitted together, obviously without the slightest gap. In this way, it is impossible for there to be something like a stone gate. It should be careful, since such a thing will appear in this cave. It may not be so simple. We must be careful. Fei made a reminder, and at the same time, walked towards the mirror in front very carefully. Although it was said to be a mirror, Fei was not so sure in his heart. After all, what is the purpose of placing such a big mirror here? There is no breath of soul beasts. I can roughly perceive the subtle changes around me through the lazy domain. Although this is just a subtle physical change brought about by practicing the lazy domain, it is enough for this alone. This kind of change. Fei pulled Yi Lanshan to his side, so that if there was any danger, he could react immediately, and Fei was already gathering soul power, so if there was any problem, he would be there immediately. He could release his own martial soul, but of course it was not a replica martial soul. Compared with those replica martial souls, Fei was more willing to believe that the chaotic villain would bring him the greatest surprise when he was in the most danger. Maybe he should find a chance for Quack to try the chaos villain's current specific strength. After all, his guess is not so accurate. After all, he is still a little confused about the level of the Soul Master. Seeing that Fei has become so vigilant, the others couldn't help tightening their minds. The most important step is to keep worrying forever in the face of the unknown. Even if there is a mirror that looks unpretentious in front of them, the mirror surface is very smooth and reflects the images of Fei and others, and it is different from what Ziyu guessed before. This mirror seems to be a stone wall or fits tightly with the stone wall, without the slightest gap at all. Everyone, don't touch this mirror and look around to see if there are any traps that can be triggered. Of course, it would be best if there is one, but I feel that Teacher Undead is not tight. He just wants us to play decryption game. In Fei's view, immortal Douluo is in existence that knows how to create and restrain each of their weaknesses. Whether it is the poisonous bats he encountered before, or the mirror that he does not know now, there is such a reason. As for where the danger lies, no one knows. After getting Fei's understanding, the others also nodded, and the two groups searched for the so-called trigger mechanism around them. Nana, Ziyu saw other people in pairs. Even her younger sister found Yan to explore, and then she looked at her lonely family. It was really sad, seeing her older sister grow up in such a short period of time, since she was a child running away with his good brother since childhood. This is so sad, right? Helpless, as a loner, I still have to find some hidden flaws, so Ziyu went to find the mirror or the trigger mechanism that might be in the gaps around her by herself. Fei and the others observed for a while, but they didn't notice any so-called flaws. The mirror seemed to be a wall, but it was just a wall different from other stone walls, that's all, but they couldn't find a way out. If so, this is also a difficult thing to do. Yan's patience was not that good. He and Hulina searched for a long time, but couldn't find any clues. He looked at the smooth and complete mirror, and then said to the others, "Why don't you break this mirror and look at the exit? Is it right behind this mirror? In general, there might be something special behind the mirror." Zhu Jiangxing also nodded. "I think so too. The surrounding stone walls are all solid. We should smash the mirror to see what's behind it. Maybe the exit is behind the mirror." End of this chapter. Chapter 233 Mirror Image 4. Break the mirror? Fei stood in front of the mirror and looked at his own appearance in the mirror. It seemed that he hadn't carefully observed the changes in himself during this period of time. Is the change so big? If it wasn't for the fact that he still has his own consciousness, Fei might not dare to recognize his own appearance. The whole person is a lot taller, and the body is much stronger. It doesn't have the delicate feeling before, especially the delicate white hair. Even women will be amazed when they see it. The lavender long hair seems to have changed violently from the previous purple. Thinking of this, Fei seemed to feel that his hair might turn white in the future. The dimness in the mirror is still so beautiful. This kind of temperament is too special. Looking sideways at Yi Lanshan, who was beside her, Fei also exclaimed, if her looks could make many women envious, then Yi Lanshan had the feeling that other women would not dare to compare her in the slightest. One glance at other people will produce a faint sense of inferiority in my heart, and it is still the kind of inferiority complex that can't go away for a long time. Although Yi Lanshan hasn't really grown up yet, that special temperament is really amazing. Breaking the mirror is definitely a bad idea. We don't know what the purpose of this mirror standing here is, and it is completely unclear whether there will be a terrifying soul beast watching behind this mirror. Fei stretched out his hand and pressed it against the mirror. It felt very cold, but there seemed to be nothing special about it other than that. The palm took away a handprint and imprinted on it. It was the violent collision produced by the combination of the warm air in the palm and the cold air in the mirror. The others also looked at each other. Although they were very anxious, there was nothing they could do. As Fei said, what would be behind the mirror? There are no simple reasons for the strange things on the internet. I rely on. Suddenly, Ziyu, who was standing closest to the wall, uttered a strange cry, stepped back again and again with a look of panic and even disbelief, leaned back and hit the stone wall directly. What happened? Fei ran over in a hurry. According to reason, Ziyu is a guy with an extremely stable mentality. Even at the age of 10 years old, he would not show any timidity when fighting with a 1000-year level soul beast, but now he showed such. It's definitely not normal to look frightened. Ziyu leaned on the stone wall while pointing to the gap in the cave and said, "Monsters, there are monsters, monsters with ears and wings." When Fei came to Ziyu's side, he immediately looked in the direction of Ziyu's finger and found nothing. Even a finger wouldn't be able to fit in this gap. How could there be any monsters? I'm afraid it was the illusion that Ziyu was too nervous. Where are the monsters? Brother Ziyu, are you too nervous and misread? A few people from Zhujiangxing also ran over to look at the gap in the surrounding environment as usual. There was nothing special at all, not even a small bug. Where did the monster come from? Ziyu shook her head and even raised her hand to pat her face with a look of absolute innocence. Impossible. I will never see it wrong at such a short distance. There is a special monster that got into it. Fei was silent for a while until Yi Lanshan also came over. Lanshan, do you think it will be that thing? The elf that teacher Undead mentioned before. This time Fei didn't speak out, but told Yi Lanshan some of his feelings through sound transmission. Maybe, according to Ziyu's rough description just now, it should be that the elf is not wrong, but the elf should not have any malicious intentions. Otherwise, an underage elf could kill Ziyu, but obviously it didn't chose to leave. Is that so? What does the elf's words look like? As you can imagine, they are the children of nature and belong to the most unique existence in this world. They have very special powers and can use the power of nature to transform spirit beasts to fight for them. While Fei was talking with Yi Lanshan, Ziyu acted as if I had definitely seen a monster just now, unbelievingly summoned her martial soul, pointed two blood red moon blades at the gap, and started a continuous series of crazy and fast attacks. Just now I definitely saw a monster, definitely a monster, with strange ears and a small human face and a pair of wings. It scared me to death. He muttered while cutting the stone wall Ziyu, as if he would never give up if he didn't find out the monster he just saw today, and no one could stop him rumbling. The ground began to shake violently, but in the blink of an eye, the whole cave seemed to start shaking, but it was not a sign of collapse, but a simple violent shaking. The shaking was very strong, but there were no falling stones or the like. Yes, it just makes people feel a little unsteady. Fei recovered from the conversation with Yi Lanshan and quickly realized something was wrong. Before all of them could react, the scene in the cave changed drastically. A ring-like thing about 20 meters long appeared in the entire cave, and Fei and his group happened to be standing on the edge of the ring, and the mirrored wall fit perfectly on one side of the ring, which seemed to be the flawless architecture could not find the slightest gap at the same time. Fei was a little surprised what was going on, and the others were also a little surprised. After all, the unexpected situation before them was not what they expected. Why did the scene in the cave have such a strange change for no reason? Woolen cloth. This is really unpredictable. On the other hand, Ziyu looked at the changes in the surrounding area with a look of surprise, and slowly lowered the blood blade in her hand. The gap he saw had slowly fallen below the raised platform, and the surrounding environment there is no similarity at all, because the sudden increase in height seems to have such a brand new sense of sight. Jifei focused all his attention on the mirror, because if he had to find a weird place in a cave, the mirror wall was definitely second to none. Perhaps all of this is also derived from this mirror, and the most difficult thing that needs to be solved is also this mirror. But how do we need to be aware of it now? Very simple. Wait. Keep waiting. End of this chapter. Chapter 234 Mirror Image 5. In fact, under normal circumstances, what one would face while waiting like this would be the coming of death, perhaps a dangerous spy, but sometimes facing danger, there is no other way to wait. After all, how can one avoid danger if one does not encounter danger? This is the situation that Jifei and his group are facing now. Do you feel that this is like the fighting spirit stage of the fighting spirit field we used to have in Jia City? Jifei said such a sentence abruptly, and the other people turned from being puzzled to shocked expressions in an instant. They looked around, and it seemed that it was the same as what Jifei said. What they saw in Jia City Soul Arena before the scene is also like this, the fighting spirit platform, but the fighting spirit platform here is much larger and more mysterious than the previous one in Jia City. Since it's the soul fighting stage, what kind of enemy are we dealing with? Soul Master? Or is it composed of a team of spirit beasts? ZU is convinced that what they are about to face here is definitely not simple or even a heavy blow to them. Although this feeling is not clear, it is roughly the same. Jifei and the others gathered together and watched the surroundings very carefully. They had to be more vigilant here than before. The poisonous bats attacked them before was entirely due to their respective vigilance. I won't be so embarrassed that I will leave. Jifei kept staring at the mirror. He didn't know whether it was because of staring at the mirror for a long time or because of a strange change, but there was a wave of waves on the originally flat mirror, like a spring. Something is about to burst out of it. Here, a special feeling, no, a little familiar feeling. Yi Lanshan pointed to the inside of the mirror and said at the same time, everyone, pay attention to what is about to come out of this mirror. It feels very special and familiar. Very familiar? Jifei frowned. What could Yi Lanshan mean by familiarity? Soul beast? Have you ever seen a special soul beast? It might feel like this. Others also stared at the mirror nervously. They couldn't believe that there was something coming out of the flat mirror. This was really surprising and extraordinary. The tense atmosphere will never last long before being replaced by shock, and the same goes for Jifei and his party. The flat mirror surface suddenly caused a wave, and a hand stretched out from it, and then a person, yes, all of them saw it right, a person walked out of the mirror, not very tall, these are not important, the important thing is his appearance. The flowing lavender long hair and the exquisite appearance of the whole person are enough to make women envious. The well-fitting clothes flutter slightly, the cold and emotionless eyes seem to be frozen all around the moment they touch the air, and a terrifying aura instantly enveloped the entire cave. Everyone else was stunned. Xiao Fei? How is it possible? Why are there two Xiao Fei? Jifei? Even Jifei himself was a little surprised, but thinking about the role of ordinary mirrors, it seems that all of this is clear. So now that he has himself, the next step is, when Jifei walked out of that scene, what followed behind him was the mirror image Yi Lanshan, who looked exactly like Yi Lanshan, but what she might have inherited or copied was only that beauty, not that unique temperament. A unique temperament that only Jifei can feel. After Yi Lanshan is Hulina. Compared with the Hulina on this side, the replicated mirror image Hulina seems to lack some things, but it also has a very special feeling. As for what that feeling is, Jifei can't feel it. If you look at it here, it seems that something is missing, but if you really want to find out what is missing, you can't think of it at all. After the mirror image Hulina is the mirror image Yan. The tall and mighty Yan is still the same, but the mirror image Yan lacks such a special aura, that is, the kind of general change aura, cold. Yes, if I have to say it is those strange cold sensations. After mirroring Yan, there is Huorao. The mirrored Huorao is still a normal type, but it seems to be a little taller than the Huorao on this side, and has a more perfect figure. It is still that kind of weird and cold. It feels and looks very uncomfortable. The mirror image of Zhu Jiangxing feels even more special. The difference between this mirror image Zhu Jiangxing and Zhu Jiangxing on Jifei's side is too much. If Zhu Jiangxing on Jifei's side is a short sword, then the mirror image on the other side Zhu Jiangxing is a sharp giant sword, and even has a special feeling that one sword can split the sky and the earth. The last thing that came out was the Mirror Ziyu. Mirror Ziyu had a pair of strange evil eyes, and there was a special kind of aura slowly spreading, which contained a kind of piercing aura that seemed to only need one thought from him. The absolutely cold breath can be released instantly to cause damage to things. Guys who look exactly the same as Fei and his group, but have completely different temperaments, and guys who came out of that mirror. This is a very strange existence, and the word mirror image has a very special meaning, so the meaning of can be discussed as a kind of disadvantage. They, Zhu Jiangxing looked at the group of guys in disbelief, especially when he set his eyes on the mirror image guy like him. His whole body trembled. The piercing and terrifying special sword intent. Horror, just a little bit of feeling. It looks terrifying. What are these guys who look exactly like us? Hey, who are you guys? Why do you look exactly like us? A bunch of fakes. Yan shouted loudly. This is obviously a provocative posture, but it is also very normal, facing guys who look exactly like him, and who are stronger than the guys who are self-improving in terms of temperament and the atmosphere around them. No matter who they are, I'm afraid the attitude will not be good, right? Fei didn't feel anything, but he seemed to sense what Undying Douluo's intentions were, but now he was more or less surprised that Undead Douluo's method was really a deadly move. If they are slack or careless, they may really die in this cave directly, and even Immortal Douluo or Quack will not make a move. After all, these guys in front of them are the best proof. End of this chapter. Chapter 235 Mirror Image. 6. Fei is a bit special through observation. This mirror image seems to completely make up for the shortcomings and aura of the few of them to the most perfect point. Even if it is said that this is Fei and others who have grown up a few years later, especially when the 7 people in the mirror image stand together, it seems that an invisible momentum is spreading. The fighting spirit platform? Fei looked around and understood Undying Douluo's intentions thoroughly. It seems that Undying Douluo wanted them to compete with the mirror images. If they want to pass here, they must defeat the opponent. 7 mirrors. It seems that Teacher Undead wants us to fight the mirror image. Ziyu and the others looked a little at a loss. It seemed a bit difficult to deal with, not to say that they were afraid, but felt that the aura emanating from these mirrored bodies was much stronger than Th's, although they couldn't detect the other party's soul power level. This mirror image doesn't seem to want to act, does it? Yan asked just now, and since the 7 mirror images came out of the mirror, they stood there motionless, except for the cold and gloomy eyes. There is no change at all. This is the method of Undead Teacher for sure. It seems to be a kind of soul guide called Mirrorland, which seems to be made by a friend of Undead Teacher. Yi Lanshan seemed to know a lot about the mirror image in front of her, but after all, as a disciple of Immortal Douluo, she must know a lot more than Fei and the others. Then what is the spirit power level of 7th sister? Why can't I see it? Also, their momentum seems to be much stronger than ours. Do we have a chance of winning? Hulina looked at the mirror image and said in a low voice, this is really weird. She is clearly herself, but when facing these mirror images, there is a strange feeling that she is a fake, and that strange feeling is still there. It kept spreading, as if he had to admit something under such a solemn atmosphere. All of them know, and all of them can clearly see, that the power of this mirror image is stronger than their own no matter what. Mirror a group of people. Yi Lanshan thought for a while, and it seemed that it was very difficult to answer this question very rigorously. Mr. Afterwards, you can copy all the characters and soul beasts reflected in the mirror, and even things can be created through the Mirrorland, as long as you want, and this is only the most basic ability of the Mirrorland. What's really scary about the land of mirror images is that they can raise a duplicated soul masters and soul beasts to their most perfect state at this stage. So the mirror image in front of us is the most perfect state at our current age. Their soul power is comparable to ours. They are at the same level, but their cooperation has reached a seamless level. Their spirits, spirit wings and skills are exactly the same as ours, and because they have no emotions, their actions are unified. If you want to find a flaw, I'm afraid it will be very difficult. And now they are standing there quietly. Maybe they are also waiting for us to attack first. The most frightening thing about the Mirror Land is that it can copy the abilities, martial arts, and even soul skills of all soul masters, and its power is percent, not percent. Even if it is titled Douluo can also be copied or raised to the limit of titled Douluo. This is the horror of the Mirror Image Land, and it is also precious. After Yi Lanshan said this, she couldn't help but cast her gaze on Ji Fei. It goes without saying that she wanted Ji Fei to weigh herself. Ji Fei was stunned. It was obvious that he had crushed his thoughts just now. What he said just now was to say that if he smashed the mirror image might be eliminated. But such a precious thing, even the ability of title Douluo, the Mirror Land Soul Guide that can be copied with percent power. If they break it, undead Douluo may go crazy. After all, for a greedy guy like immortal Douluo, if his precious treasures were smashed and he didn't go crazy, it might make Ji Fei and the others more afraid. Maybe that's the calm before the storm. Is it so scary? I have also heard about soul guides, but aren't soul guides and the like all decorations or storage types? How can they be used in battle? And they can perfectly copy title Douluo, the power of the level? Isn't this too frightening? Obviously, Yi Lanshan's words have exceeded all their imaginations, which is a bit too unrealistic, especially the ability to copy title Douluo. If you know how many title Douluo are there in the current mainland, if you have a title Douluo, then this power will become top level in one leap, and if you add such a Mirror Image Land Soul Guide, isn't it truly invincible? That's just a fixed idea. That friend of undead teacher's attainment in soul guides has probably reached the real peak level. Although that person started to learn to make things like soul guides halfway, but with his I'm afraid that there is nothing smart and intelligent that he cannot learn. Ji Fei thought for a while, is it the same as the immortal teacher? Can't use the previous power and can only choose to become a soul master? Yi Lanshan nodded and then said, that's right, I remember seeing him a few times before, and it seems that he has also cultivated soul masters in a short period of time to become an absolute top existence, and in the soul masters that such soul masters cannot touch the ranks of guides have also reached the level that can easily kill title Douluo, or even higher, but he is not here. It seems that he left here a long time ago with the others. As Teacher Undead said, now the people in this continent, the guardian god may only be the undead teacher, a patron saint. So what should we do now? Ji Fei glanced at the expressionless mirror and then at the people around him. Is there any need to ask? Faced with such a situation, it is obviously impossible to pass through this cave without defeating the opponent, and it is still impossible to smash the soul guide of the mirror image. By the way, Lanshan, if it was me, would you say that the mirror image that is the same as mine has also copied all my martial spirits? If that is the case, it may be really difficult to do, especially if your soul skills are the same. It would be even more difficult. End of this chapter. Chapter 236 Mirror Image 7. If Ji Fei himself is most concerned about the extent to which the mirror image can replicate their abilities, the others are fine. No matter what kind of replication, as long as the soul power level is at the current level, no matter how much the momentum is enhanced. For Ji Fei it was easy for Fei to solve it, but he and Yi Lanshan were different. It would be terrifying if my two real martial souls were also copied. The chaotic martial soul can be used by superimposing several reenacted martial souls and bursting out with powerful power. Soul skills can also be self-matched. It was the existence that Ji Fei himself didn't want to talk about the most that was Ji Fei's own second martial spirit, the Crown of Destruction, and the horror of the Crown of Destruction was the most important thing to pay attention to. No matter how powerful the opponent is, he can't use the soul skills to do the slightest damage to the opponent's shape, and he can use the rest of the soul skills himself. If the mirror image also has it, Ji Fei and the others are completely, there is no chance of winning, and he doesn't feel that relying on melee combat, his side can fight a perfect replica. The same is true for Yi Lanshan. Yi Lanshan's martial soul is also very special. If the mirror image also replicates the ability and soul skills of Yi Lanshan's martial soul, it will be really difficult to deal with, especially when the original, the scene where the battle turned into a battle of many clones, is simply too much of a headache. Yi Lanshan shook her head and looked at Ji Fei and said, this is impossible. Although many martial spirits can be copied in the Mirror Land, there is one thing that is too special to be copied. Although my so-called martial spirit is only it was created by a little bit of power, but it cannot be copied. As for you, maybe the chaos martial soul will be copied, but it seems something is wrong. From my point of view, I didn't feel the presence of the martial soul on those two clones. The martial soul is a special manifestation of life. I didn't feel it, so it seems that the two clones only have the level of soul power, and no martial soul. No martial soul? Does that mean our side is 7 against 4? Ji-Fei looked at the copied Ji-Fei and Yi Lanshan. Indeed, no matter how you looked at them, there was nothing special about their icy faces. At the same time, although their aura was extraordinarily terrifying, they didn't have that sense of sharpness. Perhaps it was because the reason why there is no martial soul to show his sharpness. Can we understand that only 4 of their 7 replicas can fight? Ziyu feels that she should understand this way, right? Looking at the group of replicas again, Ziyu's eyes felt more or less disdainful. Perhaps in his opinion, these replicas are just some ostentatious guys. I'm afraid their own strength is not that strong. Although it's true, but I don't think Master Undead will not consider something that even Lan Shan knows about. Ji-Fei smiled and said at the same time, this is for sure, like some undead Douluo like 7 people fighting 4. I'm afraid they didn't watch this kind of massacre battle, did they? Presumably, even if those 2 clones could not replicate his and Yi Lanshan's martial spirit, they must have been endowed with other abilities by undead Douluo. Question mark? No matter what happens to the opponent, we will not be able to escape this battle anyway. Therefore, we will know if it is a mule or a horse. Let us see if our clone is more powerful or ours. Are you better than yourself? Yan smiled heartily and at the same time said contemptuously, a group of fakes still want to fight with us? Xiao Fei, tell me, how can we solve them, or we rush up and beat these fakes to death? Wouldn't it be nice if it was simple and didn't waste time? Ji-Fei quickly stopped Yan's thoughts. This is not okay. Think about what undead Douluo warned us when we were fighting against the water and fire crabs. Since the opponent is our copy, don't we just want to team up with him? Fight? This is not a one-on-one fight, a team fight. Hahaha. Is it still cooperation? As Yi Lanshan mentioned before, the cooperation between the replicas can be controlled without using words, and each of them has no emotions such as fear. Even if they are killed, they will not have any fear. Yes, such a team includes absolute core points. Come on, team battle, let's compete with these clones. Master Undead, come on, you must be watching somewhere, right? Hurry up, let's form a team with the replicas that control you. We accept this soul fighting match. Ji-Fei yelled at the top of the cave. He believed that the so-called core point was definitely undead Douluo himself. After all, who would have thought of such a method except him? Moreover, the copied body has no IQ and cannot think independently. Obviously, if you want it to fight, you need a powerful soul master to control it. Ji-Fei didn't think of this matter on Guagua. He didn't feel that Guagua was a guy who knew how to use soul tools to attack them. Just go inside this cave and watch the battle again in an unknown location. A pair of blood-colored eyes blinked slightly, and a faint white light reflected a smiling face. Did you find it? But it doesn't matter. The land of mirror images will let you experience what is called fighting. Not to mention that among the 7 of them, besides 5 soul masters, there are 2 with special abilities. Let me know. Let's call it cooperation. After all, if I don't show my real skills in the name of having the 7 emotions, maybe even I will feel a little shame. Clap. After the voice fell, the man seemed to be moved by snapping his fingers and then closed his eyes again, as if he could see everything that happened around him without deliberately opening his eyes, and at the same time he could freely match the surrounding scenes and tasks like. Meanwhile, on Ji-Fei's side, the originally silent 7 mirror copies suddenly started to move, and it can be said that they all acted in an instant, and there was no slowness at all. It doesn't seem to be waiting for us to attack first or to observe our flaws. It really is the method of the immortal teacher. Ji-Fei also smiled. The feeling of suddenly being cheerful about something he didn't understand is very special, and it's still extremely comfortable. So he won't let the water go too much in the next battle. Let undead Douluo take a look at the full strength explosion. What kind of existence is Ji-Fei? End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 Mirror Image 8. Fei didn't deliberately let Ziyu and the others set up any battle formation. It's not that Fei doesn't have the passion and ideas to fight, but simply to observe the opponent first, to observe the opponent's fighting style or preparation method. That's right, Fei is very concerned about the fighting state of the opponent, that is, the team under the control of Undead Douluo Point, or how will they fight? Is it to sprint up and fight them in close quarters? Fei didn't feel that they would be so stupid. Of course, this stupidity actually means that the mastermind behind the scenes is Undead Douluo. In fact, Fei's current state is absolutely stupid if it looks in other people's eyes. After all, there is such a saying that strike first is the strongest, and it is most important to seize the first opportunity in battle. But Fei himself is very clear about this, but here, he acted rashly when the opponent's ability was unknown. It would be the most stupid to attack the opponent, so Fei watched the opponent carefully. The replicas are like chess pieces in the hands of Undead Douluo, and they have arranged a 3-2-2 facelift. The front one is copying Yan, copying Ziyu, copying Zhu Jiangxing, and then copying Hu Lina, copying Hu Orao, and the last one is juxtaposed. Fei and Yi Lanshan were copied together. Why do you use such a loop? Are the three assault systems going together? No, it might not be that simple when it comes to the multi-system soul masters that teacher Undead mentioned before. The so-called outsiders watch the excitement and experts watch the way. Although Fei does not say that he is a soul master who has experienced many battles, it is a bit difficult to understand when he sees such a formation. During the battle, they are mainly control type, while the two agility type soul masters are tools to protect the auxiliary type soul masters. In the end, only the power attack type soul masters will attack them. This is obviously too stupid, but in front of them does Undead Douluo want to repeat the same mistakes? Fei didn't think Undead Douluo would be so stupid. Maybe Undead Douluo really didn't take them seriously. It is obviously the most useless to copy Fei and Yi Lanshan, but put them at the end of the team for protection. This is really too confusing, right? Fei, what should we do? The opponent's formation has been set up, right? I can't see that he still has some skills. At least he didn't charge directly. Fei smiled slightly, maintaining his face that never panicked. Fei didn't know how long he had maintained his composure. It seemed as if he had never encountered anything that shocked or frightened him. It was as if the special sense of fear had disappeared. Is the loop? Fei began to think about it, but what worried him the most was Undying Douluo's understanding of multi-system soul masters, and why did he put the duplicated himself and Yi Lanshan, who had no martial soul, at the end? The three people in front, Ziyu, Yan, and Zhu Jiangxing, are of the attacking type on the surface, but Fei knows that Yan's second soul skill can completely combine the attacking type and the agility attack, which is not a good thing. Now I really can't believe that it is really a bit tricky to solve it perfectly if the seemingly unreasonable team is against it. To tell you the truth, if I'm not wrong, it's not the clones who are fighting us, but the undead teacher hiding behind. The undead teacher controls our clones and puts them in this formation. Ziyu and the others also knew that. After all, what Fei yelled at the top of the cave just now clarified everything in front of them. At the same time, they were also a little surprised what kind of Undead Douluo's ability to occupy control would be. Although it's not a head-on fight with Undead Douluo, it's definitely a lie to say that there is no pressure when facing these guys. I'm a little uncertain now. You all come here, and we can discuss it. If it's just a battle, I can arrange it now, but I think back to what Teacher Undead taught us, and I feel that this battle will definitely not be so simple. Fei called Yi Lanshan and the others over. He had to think of a way, and at the same time brainstorm, especially Yi Lanshan's proposal was the most important. Fei, what are you uncertain about? Do you feel that we are not their opponents? It doesn't matter, as long as we work together. We are not afraid that we will not be able to defeat Teacher Undead. Anyway, it is just a clone. All those EU's words are very inspiring, but the more such clones are, the more difficult it is to deal with. Okay, after all, they will never hesitate to say that they are under the control of the undead Douluo. Fei dares to believe that, even if the undead Douluo controls them to die, the replicas will come to them one after another. If there is no thinking about the existence of IQ, how can you be afraid of those things? Because Lanshan and I have some special martial souls. So among the clones of the other party, the one that replicated both of us has no martial soul. Fei frowned, obviously expressing his doubts. Isn't that better? Don't forget that the opponent's strength is the same as ours, so if 2 of the opponent's 7 people don't have martial souls, wouldn't it be better to solve it? Should we just rush up? If the other party has Xiaofei and 7th Sister's martial spirits, then it will be the most difficult for us. Okay. After all, once Xiaofei's Nightmare Soul skill is deployed and breaks into it, all abilities will gradually weaken physical strength and so on. All of them will be weakened, and there is no vision at all. There is also the weak soul ability. The Soul Curse and the Incarnation are extremely terrifying soul skills. The other side has it without us. Isn't this suppression? Yan and Hulina each spoke half and a half. It seems that they have a tacit understanding. Clap. Ziyu raised her hand and lightly knocked on the heads of Hulina and Yan. You 2 idiots. Don't you see what Xiaofei is talking about? Look at the opponent's Lanoop. Line up. Hulina and Yan turned their heads to take a look together and then turned their heads back. Both of them looked at Fei and Yi Lanshan with some doubts. Zhu Jiangxing also said with some doubts, since Teacher Immortal knows that Fei and Yi Lanshan don't have martial souls anymore, why did you put them at the end of the team? Fei, is this what you're wondering about? Fei nodded. That's right, that's what I'm wondering about. A soul master who has no soul power level, but can't use soul skills is basically useless. Why is Master Immortal putting it last? Lanshan, do you know? End of this chapter. Chapter 238 Mirror Image. 9. The mirror image copied from the mirror land has no life at all, and no independent thinking, so it is already very clear that there is no relationship between protection and being protected. But looking at it from the front, the more the clearer one thing is, the more confused it is, even to the point of not being aware of it. Especially these are 2 people, copying Fei and copying Yi Lanshan. Could Yi Lanshan be weak? Since it is weak, why is it placed at the end and protected by others? Yi Lanshan also shook her head. I don't know either. Maybe it's the arrangement of Teacher Undead, just to make us suspicious. Anyway, if you don't have a martial soul, you can put it anywhere. After all, you don't need those 2 copies. However, it is necessary to be careful. After all, we still don't know the details of the other party. We can only know that their martial arts and soul skills are the same as ours, and they are also strengthened and amplified by the mirror image. But to what extent the increase? Doesn't even Yi Lanshan know about it. Fei felt somewhat hesitant in his heart, but the hesitation could only be temporary, and time did not allow Fei to wait and waste here. Come on, let's set up a Lanoop. We are going to fight anyway. No matter what kind of Lanoop we have, we just need to maximize the strength of each of us. Maybe our cooperation is not as good as they have a tacit understanding, but no matter what, it is impossible to admit defeat at the beginning. Fei arranged for Yan and Ziyu to stand in front, Hulina as the first controller at the back, and Zhu Jian and Huo rousted behind Hulina, and Fei himself acted as the second hand to control the shoulders and protect Yi Lanshan. After all, as a controller Fei, the sole master of the department, plus special means, Fei is absolutely invincible in a one-on-one close combat. The Lanoop is really good for other people to break through, but it is necessary for Fei and the others. In Fei's own view, only in this way can all of them be able to exert their strengths. It's not that a few people come to fight alone and others come to sweep the formation. It's not that it's unfair. It's just that everyone needs to contribute to the battle. No, it should be said that everyone should do their best. There are 2 controllers in Fei's group. After all, Fei's Izanami martial soul is also of the control system. Hulina has a strong single body control. Originally, Fei planned to let Hulina protect Yi Lanshan, Hulina is definitely stronger than herself if she controls it alone, but in case the other party has some special means of copying Fei and copying Yi Lanshan, Fei has no choice but to shoulder this responsibility. After all, be careful to sail the ship for 10,000 years. The opponent's clone also seemed to be aware that the lineup on Fei's side had been determined, and the overall momentum was completely ready to go. Ever since, under the control of undead Douluo, the mastermind behind the scenes, the clones first released their duplicate martial souls, and at the same time, colorful and gorgeous soul rings also bloomed from the air, and the powerful power kept on coming. Turning around, at that moment the whole cave seemed to shake. The duplicating Xiao, duplicating Yan, and duplicating Zhu Jiangxing headed by the other party had spirit rings representing a century floating around their bodies, a total of 6 spirit rings. The most surprising thing is that the form in which their martial souls are released is really special. The blood-red meniscus blade in the hands of the leader duplicate Xiao seems to contain endless killing power, and that power seems to be interpenetrated with himself. After the Moonblade martial soul manifests, duplicate Xiao seems to be tall after more than a circle, and the aura of the whole person is also rising steadily, until the whole body is surrounded by a bloody aura, and only a pair of eyes are faintly exposed. How is this possible? Seeing this scene, Xiu couldn't believe that what happened before her eyes was real. My martial soul actually still has such power. What is the power of the blood-red body wrapped around it? I feel a little scared just looking at it. Hearing Ziyu's doubts, Fei said, "That's evil spirit." It seems that brother Ziyu's martial soul has the power to store evil spirit, which is different from murderous spirit. The evil spirit is more terrifying, and the terrifying power created is even stronger. It makes people feel full of depression, and I have to say, I never expected that evil spirits can be stored. Store evil spirit? Why don't I know? Then how should evil spirit be stored? Fei thought for a while. The evil spirit is different from the murderous spirit, but it has similarities with the murderous spirit. The murderous spirit needs to kill continuously, and the evil spirit is actually a constant battle. During the battle, you hone yourself to absorb the opponent's fright and panic. The evil spirit is to kill the opponent. Only when all the confidence is crushed is it considered evil spirit. Continuously fighting, crushing the opponent's confidence, crushing the opponent's self-confidence and pride. The evil spirit is the invincible spirit. Invincible spirit? Ziyu's eyes seemed to be firmer in an instant. Well, my martial soul still has such power. No wonder the fighting has become more recent. The martial soul also seems to have a very subtle changes. Yes, it seems that I must win this battle, but Xiaofei really depends on you. After all, we don't know as much about these clones as you and seventh sister. I will definitely not lose. Although this is a soul fighting stage and a soul fighting competition, there is no need to worry about it if there is no referee. What I want to say now is that you must have a correct mentality. The opponent is our clone. The existence of vitality, so even if it is to kill, there is no hesitation. Otherwise, Zhu Jiangxing sneered. Xiaofei, you are wrong. We will never hesitate. You don't have to worry. All we know is that the people we really care about are by our side fighting with us. Well, kill the clone or something. Hearing this, Fei also smiled happily. It is naturally good to have such a mentality. Although the opponent is a clone, ordinary people may not be able to do it, right? Don't make my copy too ugly, at least don't make it too ugly, otherwise there are a few of you who look good. Yes, and mine. Hulina and Huorao said in unison. Zhu Jiangxing looked back at Huoro and quickly replied, okay, that's for sure. But the most important thing is safety. We are just playing for fun. Don't take it to heart. Hulina frowned, as if what she said to Huorao was inappropriate, so she hurriedly corrected it. End of this chapter. Chapter 239 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 1. The martial souls released by the replicas gave Fei the most intense visual impact. This kind of visual impact is beyond the reach of Ziyu and others, whether it is replicating Ziyu's evil spirit, or the current replicating Yan's Flame Lord. This is true for Wuhan. The steaming flames radiated terrifying heat, which seemed to evaporate the entire air, and the scariest thing was not limited to this. What was even more powerful was the exaggerated overall appearance of copy Yan. The shape about 2 meters high seems to be the reason why it intersects with the flames. The lingering flames naturally become the hardest armor for duplicate Yan. At the same time, the black horns growing on the head seem to represent that he is a demon from hell. He is the real Lord of Flames. He can burn all evil and enemies. He has the most terrifying flames. The light of the 2 light yellow soul rings on his body cannot suppress the surging flames. The light released. Yan subconsciously compared it with Duan Yan. Although he hasn't released his martial soul yet, he won't be a match for such a guy, no matter where he comes from, right? Such a figure is much taller than him, and at the same time, the terrifying heat emitted by the flame seems to reach his side. Yan couldn't help asking himself, is my martial soul really that powerful? I don't know how many times the possessed flame lord is stronger than when Yan released it himself. This is no longer in terms of momentum, but a complete and crazy crushing of combat power. Copying Zhujiangxing is more common. A restrained sharpness gives people an unfathomable feeling. Coupled with that stiff facial expression, it is completely like a stranger who should not approach or die. It should be suspended above the head. Zhujiangxing, who duplicated the Wuhan Xingyu sword, also held it in his hand. Isn't it? Can you really hold a martial spirit in your hand and use it? This is too. Yandu exclaimed. He seems to have never seen Zhujiangxing use his martial soul as a sword in his hand. Right, at most, it would release the blade to attack the opponent, but the Xingyu sword above the head was always suspended above the head. Zhujiangxing's complexion also became a little abnormal, as if he felt a little depressed. It is very difficult to use the martial soul as a real sword. Maybe it can be used under certain circumstances, but this way the martial soul will be used as a real sword. I'm afraid that the one in my hand can only be used after I have the martial soul avatar, or I have reached the extreme level of understanding of my own martial soul. I really can't believe that a replica body has actually achieved such a level. The 3 of them looked at the martial souls of the 3 copied by the other party, and then the expressions of the 3 people were all stunned, and they were all autistic. Yes, they were autistic in an instant. It seems that there is no need to fight at all. The other party is too weird, isn't it? It's obviously something they didn't grasp, but the other party has completely moved it out. Hey, Ninetails, Ninetails. Didn't 7th sister say that you can only have it if you reach title Douluo? Why? Hulina's exclamation made everyone focus on a replica Hulina with 9 tails swaying behind the opponent's formation. There are 9 tails swaying behind Hulina, but it is said to be 9 tails. But if you look carefully, in fact, except for the solid 2, the rest of the 7 tails are somewhat false and solid. It seems that the whole body is not fully condensed. The temperament of Hulina has also undergone earth-shaking changes. The faint white hair covering the body and the light yellow eyes full of temptation give people a feeling that they will sink into it just by looking at it. Copying Hulina is more charming than Hulina. Some subtle changes have taken place in appearance. Hulina cannot be said to be ugly, but it is definitely not top-notch. Good looking can only be described as better than ordinary, but copying Hulina has changed this, and the whole person can see the change from the face. So much. This is not a good omen. Yi Lanshan said from behind. That's also your strongest strength now, Sister Nana. That's right, if your awareness can be improved, your own strength will also rise, even if you can condense all 9 tails. It's not a problem, but it's just that it doesn't have the complete power of the 9 tails. But it can be seen from this that the other party's copying ability can copy not only its own perception, but also the form of the martial soul is more terrifying than ours. It feels like mine is more normal. Huo Rao stared at the other party's duplicate Huo Rao. Indeed, if you simply look at it this way, the replicated Huora is really not so dazzling. There seems to be a little suppressed flame burning slowly on her body, and she is much taller. Looking at Jifei's side, maybe this is the form that an agility attack system soul master should have. It will never be dazzling, and at the same time, the whole person's aura is restrained. If you don't observe carefully yourself, it is impossible to notice such a feeling. This is definitely the best way to hide for agility attack system soul masters. After all, the humble soul master of the agility attack system is the one that opponents won't find easily, and Huo Rao is not a pure agility attack system soul master. If she is to explode instantly on a single target, she is definitely stronger than Yan, but that's all for a split second, and at the same time, such an explosion is also a huge pressure for Huo Rao herself. A split second burst attack will drain the soul power of her whole body. It is also an existence that is difficult to solve. No matter who the clone is, I'm afraid that it has reached the peak of this level. No, even if it exceeds level, it is impossible to beat this group of guys according to our current situation. What to do? Jifei's eyes flickered, and they almost fell on the duplicating Jifei and the duplicating Yi Lanshan. The assistant Jifei simply stood there, without the feeling of releasing his soul power. His cold eyes seemed to be staring at Jifei's side, and the copied Yi Lanshan was the same, just standing there without any movement. Forget it, I can't care about so much anymore. Jifei said these words slowly. Ziyu also came back to her senses, smiled slightly, full of fighting spirit. Come on, since the other party is waiting for us, the 7 of us will also show the peak state. Let's have martial soul comparison. Open martial arts. Accompanied by Ziyu's loud shout, the sound of violent air friction rang out. The colliding soul power erupted with a powerful breath, and the whole space began to shake. It seemed that the huge arena was covered with a special layer of light covered below. End of this chapter. Chapter 240 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 2. Ziyu raised her hands, and Ziyu held two crescent-like knives in her hands in an instant. His martial soul is different, which itself is similar to an entity, different from Zhu Jiangxing's Xingyu sword. Ziyu's entire the person's aura also began to rise, and the 2 rounds of soul rings crazily vented the anger that belonged to Ziyu. Although the aura was not as good as that of copying Ziyu, it was not much worse. Others also began to release their martial souls, and the flames rising from Yan's Flame Lord's possession instantly suppressed the opponent. Yan seemed to be deliberately trying to provoke the opponent, provoking the flame breath that copied Yan. Indeed, it can be regarded as a success in pushing back the flame breath from Du and Yan. Want to suppress us? Simply from the flames? HMPH. Really think that Yan will be afraid of you? A counterfeit. Yan Leng snorted in disdain. If his hot temper could not be suppressed, he would definitely unleash the Lord's wings and attack the opponent in the next moment, bringing a devastating blow to the opponent from the air. Zhu Jiangxing lifted one hand, and a gorgeous flying sword instantly detached from the top of his head, suspended in front of him. He still couldn't do the same thing as copying Zhu Jiangxing to be able to hold his own sword spirit in his hand. The degree in his hand, but now it is also a success for him. It seems that it's not the kind of emergency that I really can't use my martial soul as a sword. Sighing, Zhu Jiangxing also deeply felt helpless, which is still too difficult for him now, but let's try slowly. He must show his true peak state in this battle. It's time to deal with it, otherwise I will definitely lose. There is no doubt that you will lose. Jifei saw that the martial spirits released by other people seemed to have changed from before, and it had to be said that they were stronger than before, so he couldn't help but smiled, as if he had already guessed what undead Douluo was thinking, and this method would be of great help to him. It's really good for people like them. Is it motivated by pressure? It seems to be such a truth. If it is normal, even if Ziyu and the others try their best to release their martial souls, they can only reach the level of fighting against water and fire crabs before, but facing the clones and still the reluctance of their clones seems to be another strengthening force. Jifei still released his own Izanami martial soul, and at the same time, he also paid attention to whether there was a martial soul on the replica Jifei opposite. Jifei originally guessed that undead Douluo might not be able to copy his own martial soul, so he had to wait for Jifei to release the martial soul first, then copy Jifei, and then imitate Jifei and directly imitate a martial soul. Lanshan also uses this method, but looking at it from the front, Jifei had already released his martial soul, and it was still the most basic Izanami martial soul, but the other party copied Jifei still motionless, and his cold eyes just looked at them, and seemed to have no action. Immediately, Jifei was even more puzzled. The martial spirit released by Yi Lanshan is very special. From the appearance, her martial spirit does not need to be manifested or possessed, but the 3 light green spirit rings that light up on her body are very special, but everyone else has got used to it. After all, Jifei and Yi Lanshan's martial souls and soul rings are so special. Naturally, even if the state of releasing the martial souls is very special, it is normal. Copying Yi Lanshan didn't make any moves. Although it proved that they really couldn't use martial arts, what worried Ji-Fei even more was their positions. But now is the time. When the arrow is on the string, there can be no hesitation at all. You must fight against it to win, no matter what means the opponent will use. There is no way out. Both sides have the same martial soul and the same soul ring configuration, but the aura they erupt is completely different, even showing a one-sided posture. Ji-Fei can clearly feel how powerful the opponent's soul power is. Fei was also extremely surprised that the gap between spirits and spirit rings of the same level could be so obvious. It seemed that what Undead Douluo said was very correct. There is a gap in combat power under the configuration. However, Ji-Fei didn't feel any sense of loneliness. This situation showed that they had room for improvement. Under the same circumstances, they could improve to such a level. The confrontation has officially begun, and the war is imminent. Fighting without any restraint is terrifying, and it is even more so now. A secluded place. Immortal Douluo opened his eyes and looked at Quack beside him. How is it? Is this trial prepared by the old man better than fighting only by catching soul beasts? Guagua stuck out his tongue. Yes, you are the best. You really dare to think about using such a soul tool to deal with these children. If you lose, how can you win? And you also gave it that kind of power. Even though there are only 3 moves, it can be completely suppressed, right? Immortal Douluo smiled slightly, looking at the scene in the cave, reflected by a mirror in front of him. This is different. The old man's purpose is not to want them to win. The real purpose is to recognize a real gap. Although the level of soul power is strong, but after the baptism of the evil god Spring, it can only reach this level. This is really too embarrassing. But you're exaggerating, right? A battle with that kind of power is inherently unequal. No matter how powerful a soul master is, he can't match that kind of power, right? What if he is injured? It will definitely affect the future training. Simple control and healing abilities are nothing more than nothing to worry about. If you are injured, you will be healed. You don't have to be afraid of anything. What I want is for them to see the gap clearly, to see clearly what kind of state they are despite their high spirit power. Undying Douluo's eyes were on the fierce battle in the cave. On the soul stage. For the clones, the clone Ji-Fei who was originally standing behind suddenly raised his head, and a special bloody light seemed to flash in his cold, emotionless eyes. Simultaneously, Ji-Fei raised his right hand, his aura suddenly changed, and at the same time, a blood-red mist was quietly released. Spirit of the mountain, bestow the earth's most quintessential vibrations, to construct the perfect zone. Binding technique, Shanai. Copying Ji-Fei suddenly spit out this series of cold words. The moment the words fell, the whole cave seemed to start shaking crazily, and the whole fighting spirit stage also changed. End of this chapter. Chapter 241 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 3. The originally flat fighting spirit platform suddenly began to change crazily. Many huge stones appeared in the place where Ji-Fei and the others were standing, and surrounded them all. Looking at the huge stone wall rising above, Ji-Fei and his party had felt like a frog in a well, and the tall stone wall separated each of them, so Ji-Fei made a typo. No, it should be said that Ji-Fei made a serious mistake in their cooperation. Ordinary Soul Master battles are almost always initiated by auxiliary type Soul Masters, and then with the assistance of auxiliary type Soul Masters' soul skills, they begin to show their fighting style. But the mirror bodies controlled by the immortal Douluo have exactly the same plan. This seems to be a real control type soul skill, right? But Ji-Fei saw that the stone wall blocking him seemed to be a complete stone wall without even a single gap. The nearly 1 meter wide stone wall bound him firmly inside, and it seemed to be more than 10 meters high. Lanshan? What's going on? I can't possibly have such a soul ability, right? And what did the copying Ji-Fei just say? Remember when his voice fell, there was a huge change on our side, right? Ji-Fei clearly remembered that, since the very beginning, his attention had been on the copies of Ji-Fei and Yi Lanshan, and perhaps only those 2 copies could make Ji-Fei feel confused and dangerous. At the same time, the constraints in front of him also let Ji-Fei know that his thinking was extremely correct. Ji-Fei stretched out his hand, and at the same time the sharp deed of the underworld was released directly. The deed of the underworld can be said to be Ji-Fei's most defensive power. If he relied on the power of the deed of the underworld, it should be able to stop him. The stone wall shattered. Godmaster, it is the power of the Godmaster. The process of constructing the attack is achieved through chanting. I didn't expect the undead teacher to use such power to deal with us. It seems that we may lose this time. Ji-Fei had just stabbed the deed of the underworld into the stone wall, and there was a crack in the stone wall, but when Ji-Fei wanted to break the stone wall further, the stone wall recovered in an instant. Yi Lanshan's indifferent words made Ji-Fei somewhat at a loss. I don't know what the state of the other people is, and they can't communicate at all. Ji-Fei is very glad that he and Yi Lanshan can still communicate in this way, otherwise Ji-Fei really doesn't know how to contact other people well. Although he can only communicate with Yi Lanshan now, it's much better than Ji-Fei being at a loss by himself. What is a priest? Yi Lanshan's voice hesitated for a while, and then rang out. Godmaster is a profession that appeared on the mainland earlier than Soul Master, but with the passage of time, the profession of Godmaster has disappeared without a trace. Possesses the power to penetrate the heavens and the earth, and can launch attacks only by chanting. Of course, powerful divine masters can launch attacks without chanting mantras. It seems that Teacher Undead restored them to God by copying Ji-Fei and copying Yi Lanshan. The power of the teacher. Just like the stone wall that binds us in front of us. If we want to go extremely fast, it is simply impossible. We can only go out from above, but how can we inform other people of this situation? Yi Lanshan was right. Ji-Fei even thought that Ziyu and the others might be madly attacking the stone wall that blocked them, and the originally scattered position seemed to be the most terrifying single body suppression that the opponent had imposed on Ji-Fei and the others. This is not a good thing, even in an extremely embarrassing situation. Looking at the height of nearly 10 meters above, Ji-Fei suddenly thought whether he could use blue silver grass to climb up there. Seems like a good approach. Lanshan, I will use the blue silver grass to climb out and rescue you one by one. It's absolutely impossible to be so simple. Since Ji-Fei used this kind of lichen to tie us up one by one, it is absolutely impossible for them to watch us come to save people. Maybe they are already taking action now. Ji-Fei couldn't take care of so many things anymore, and if he wasted a little time now, he might be in great danger, so he had to act quickly. Ji-Fei first controlled the villain of chaos to float towards the sky quickly. At least let the villain of chaos help Ji-Fei to observe whether there is any danger at the top of the stone road, or if they will stand up when they stand on it. Dangerous attack or something as predicted. Just as Yi Lanshan guessed just now, the moment the little chaotic villain flew to the entrance of the cave, and the moment he was about to float to the outside, a blade of a sword suddenly hit the chaotic villain, and stabbed the staggering chaotic villain in an instant, and the chaotic villain fell directly. When it got to the bottom, the villain of chaos angrily pulled out the sword blade pierced on its body, opened its mouth and swallowed it. Ji-Fei also had some palpitations when he saw the chaotic villain falling on the ground. Even the villain of chaos was directly beaten back. If he used the blue silver grass to crawl out just now, the sword blade would have pierced him right away, right? It's over. I hope second brother Yan won't rely on his own flying soul skills to fly up directly. If that happens, he will definitely be in danger. It is impossible to use external force to break the stone wall that binds them, and at the same time, they will be attacked if they climb. How to do it? Ji-Fei thought about it carefully. It seemed a bit troublesome. The mirror image didn't seem to attack them under the control of undead Douluo. It's not hard to imagine, if the mirror images attack now, they would stand on the top of the stone wall and face down Ji-Fei, and the others would definitely not be able to resist the release of soul skills. Maybe I should try to release the nightmare soul skill. In the fog of nightmare, my own reaction ability and speed will be improved, and as long as the opponent can't find that I have climbed to the entrance of the cave, I will definitely not be able to attack. Even if I attack, I can respond quickly. The method should be usable. But first we have to let the villain of chaos try it. Just do it. Ji-Fei Izana's martial soul possessed her body and released the special mutated blue silver grass in an instant. Superimposed and engraved martial arts. The soul rings behind Ji-Fei changed from the original 3 to 6, but these 6 soul rings are more or less strange. 2 yellow and 4 purple, which are special soul rings according to a normal soul master. Emperor configuration. No, it should be said to be very rubbish, right? After all, reaching the level of the Soul Emperor still uses the soul ring of the 1000-year level. But this is just the effect of Ji-Fei's re-engraved martial souls, and then superimposed to use them. End of this chapter. Chapter 242 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 4. The 6 soul rings on Ji-Fei's body were constantly spinning, and a more powerful force was continuously released. The combined power of Izanami's martial soul and Lanian Ko's martial soul was terrifying. Although it can't reach the level of the real 6-ring Soul Emperor, it is still much stronger than the original Ji-Fei, and what Ji-Fei doesn't care about is strong power, and he can climb the stone wall smoothly, and at the same time, use his own using the Nightmare Soul skill, to block the opponent's line of sight, and in the Nightmare Soul skill, his own speed, strength and reaction speed will be greatly improved. Nightmare activated. Izanami's second soul ring on Ji-Fei's body instantly lit up, and a series of black mist rising continuously spread upward. Although the top of the stone wall was also covered by black mist, Ji-Fei, who was in the Nightmare Soul skill, could get a complete vision, so he could clearly see how far the Nightmare Mist above had spread. In less than an instant, the black mist from the Nightmare Soul skill had already reached the top of the stone wall, and there was no attack similar to a sword blade in the instant the black mist shrouded it. It seems that the mirror bodies did not know that no one will appear in such a black mist, which is undoubtedly good news. Ji-Fei smiled and immediately summoned the Villain of Chaos. Chaos Villain, thank you for your hard work. Anyway, you are not afraid of pain. You open your mouth to eat the blade attack. This is your great contribution to us. Come on. Saying that, Ji-Fei held the Villain of Chaos with one hand and then looked up and threw it up. The Villain of Chaos didn't make any movement similar to resistance. Well, Ji-Fei could also be regarded as the Villain of Chaos, and acquiesced what Ji-Fei did, was actually very happy in his heart to help Ji-Fei complete this trial. Langshan, wait a while, and if I succeed, I can rescue you. Be careful, after all, the mirror image body is under the control of the immortal teacher, and it still has the power of the God Master, so maybe the 2 God Masters will use what kind of power. I also know this. It doesn't matter. The other party should not dare to act rashly. Even Teacher Undead probably wouldn't expect that I will let the Villain of Chaos explore the way first, and then I will follow. After the communication between Ji-Fei and Yi Lanshan was completed, he also started to make preparations. Under Ji-Fei's control, the blue-silver grass hovering on his right hand turned into a relatively immature inner leaf. The complete blue-silver grass used by Ji-Fei has spikes attached to the leaves. The spikes are very sharp and can absorb the soul power of the Soul Master. The Chaos Villain was thrown upwards, but in the blink of an eye, 2 sharp blades passed through the Chaos Villain's body in an instant, and then the Chaos Villain did not fall, but stood on the stone wall above and directly spit out the shrinking fist from his mouth. The version of Kunwu sword, and then actually held a sword flower exactly like that, as if provoking the other party's inability to kill it. Ji-Fei, who just wanted to climb up, was almost amused. This chaotic villain is definitely good at being funny, and while being funny, its own strength is also very powerful. After all, the chaotic villain is just as capable as Ji-Fei himself. Compared with Ji-Fei, those who use the re-engraved martial soul to fight are just missing the crown of destruction martial soul. A series of flashes of light from the blade came over at a very high speed. I don't know whether it was because the Villain of Chaos woke up or he was enlightened. He intercepted the blade very keenly, and it was continuous. When it was intercepted, the speed was really too terrifying, and a special sword energy pierced through the surrounding stone walls. Ji-Fei followed the vines made of blue-silver grass and began to climb up. If there was no attack from the opponent, or if the opponent's attack was only one-sided, Ji-Fei would definitely use the fire cloud crane Wuhan to fly up directly, rather than climbing up slowly like this, which wastes time and consumes energy. No matter how you look at it, it is the kind of existence that is similar to thankless efforts. But it doesn't matter, as long as you can escape from this imprisoning stone wall, everything is worth it. At the same time, during the climbing process, Fei was still considering whether to expand the range of the Black Mist of the Nightmare Soul ability. Judging from the current situation, Yan should not have used the second soul skill to ascend into the air recklessly, otherwise the opponent's attacks would have already gathered on Yan's body, instead of frantically dodging the sword attack. Now Chaos Villain. Chaos, thank you for your hard work, but it doesn't matter, you have to remember, you are the best. Fei's climbing speed is not very fast. The main reason is that his body is not that tall. He is only 6 years old now. Although he has a mind of nearly 30 years old, his mind cannot make up for the gap in height. This is actually many times more difficult than when climbing the rock before. After all, when Fei climbed the rock wall, he could use the deed of the underworld to move forward easily according to the top, but it is not possible now. Facts have proved that, if when the deed of the underworld touches the stone wall will heal in an instant, just like a life that recovers quickly and will not be implicated at all. Cool. Fei finally climbed up, and the process was very arduous. Standing on top of it, Fei began to observe the surroundings. Although the blades were still flying towards him, Fei himself was not worried at all, because the Villain of Chaos seemed to have found his own fun. If Fei didn't, if you guess wrong, the source of the blade should be copying Zhu Jiangxing's first soul ability or second soul ability. The second soul ability should not be counted. If it is a solid blade, it is not the same as Zhu Jiangxing's first soul ability. Very similar. But Fei clearly remembered that Zhu Jiangxing himself said that his first soul skill could only condense 3 Xingyu sword blades, but judging from the current continuous situation, can you release soul skills for such a long time? Is the soul power so sufficient? If this continues, how can we fight? Fei could tell that these so-called replicas were their perfect versions, and they were similar to the invincible version, and they wouldn't hesitate to release their soul power at all. Fei watched the chaotic villain jumping up and down defending him again and again, and suddenly felt a sense of astonishment. The chaotic villain is smarter than before. It's really an existence that is difficult to solve. Forget it, if it's around. End of this chapter. Chapter 243 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 5. Just as Fei saw the surrounding environment, it was very similar to what he judged. He is now standing on the top of the stone wall, and if he wants to jump up, he can definitely touch the cave. The surrounding stone pillars are separated by some distance according to the position of each of them. Although the distance between them cannot be said to be very far, it is absolutely unrealistic for the two to talk. Fei hurriedly looked behind, and at the same time, circulated his soul power to expand the Black Mist of the Nightmare Soul skill to at least spread around. It is impossible for them to come out together. At least one person needs to stand above to respond. If Fei had guessed correctly, if he stood defenselessly above the trapped pillar where Yi Lanshan was trapped, the sword that duplicated Zhu Jiangxing would probably hit him in an instant. Everyone, don't panic. I'll save you one by one. Don't act without authorization, let alone come up alone. The fog is my layer of defense. Fei shouted loudly. At least what he had to do now was to make everyone else wait in peace and not come up alone. Xiao Fei, did you go up? It seemed to be Ziyu's voice vaguely, but he didn't hear it completely, but he could hear this sentence, at least in a very loud questioning tone. Fei responded loudly, but he didn't know how to tell his plan. After all, no one knows if Undead Douluo will be listening on the other side. What if Undead Douluo let those clones attack together as he was listening? Although this is unlikely, Fei deeply realized that Immortal Douluo is not a very easy guy to deal with, and even playing against him is extremely difficult. I'll save you now, don't act alone. While defending and being careful of the attack from the other side, Fei walked towards the trapped pillar where Yi Lanshan was trapped, because it was a sudden change in the terrain, as if the cracked ground had suddenly lifted up, and it was not very easy to walk. Even if you are not careful, you may not be able to stand firmly, so you must be careful, otherwise you will definitely fall to the bottom. Looking at the edge, Fei could clearly see the group of replicants standing in place. Copying Fei is still looking at this side. It seems to be looking into the black mist, and it seems to be looking at Fei who is in action. The group's blade attack, that speed, that strength, is really not afraid of excessive consumption of soul power, or whether the soul skill will attack the opponent or not. Lanshan, I put down the blue silver grass and you need to climb up by yourself. I feel something is wrong. The other party must have used other means when releasing the trapped pillar. If something left the ground, or came out of the trapped pillar, if they open the hole, they will automatically launch an attack. I need to defend, and there is a chaotic villain defending on my side, so it shouldn't change the direction of the attack. Fei had to be careful, and at the same time, beware of the other party suddenly attacking him. The previous attempts to use the chaos villain made Fei come to such a conclusion. That seemed completely impossible, but it seemed impossible. But is it really possible to react instantly? There must be some special means to clearly know the movements and actions of the people trapped inside the trapped pillar. Okay. Yi Lanshan's answer was also extremely simple, and then she grabbed the blue silver grass that Fei had put down and climbed upwards. The speed was faster than Fei's, and it didn't take long to climb up. Rumble. Sure enough, the moment Yi Lanshan left the ground and climbed upwards, a dazzling fireball from a distance hit Fei's face instantly. Because the range of the black mist is very wide, and Fei's own perception is also very terrifying, so Fei has already reacted quickly before the fireball is about to arrive. Withered wood vines. The third engraved martial soul was activated instantly, and 3 brand new soul rings suddenly appeared from the middle of the original 6 soul rings on Fei's body, reaching 9 soul rings in an instant. Fei controlled the deadwood to vine and dodged to the side, but the nausea caused by dodging was limited to the area where he and Yi Lanshan were trapped. On the other side, the incoming fireball seemed to be in contact with the black mist, causing it to expand instantly. Although Fei moved at the speed of the deadwood and vines, his normal body was still affected, but in the blink of an eye, Fei he felt the burning sensation, and Fei's reaction speed was also very fast. Fire Cloud Crane Martial Soul, activate. Boom. A mass of tense flames exploded, and the Hoyan raised its head with a mournful cry, and instantly contained all the heat waves that spread around it. The flame that originally touched Fei also merged with the flames released by the Hoyan. Offset without a trace. The original 9 soul rings on Fei's body underwent drastic changes again. The 12 soul rings complement each other and nearly drowned Fei's body. It is not Fei who is seen from the outside, but Fei. It was the 12 soul rings circling back and forth on Fei's body. With the fire cloud crane possessing his body, Fei's aura changed drastically again, but it wasn't so obvious. It was just that some special white feathers appeared on his face, and at the same time, 2 special flame marks on his wrists kept coming, exuding a different kind of flame. Want to attack me? Let's touch and see whose flame attack is more powerful. Swallowing flames. One of the Millennium Soul skills of the re-engraved martial soul Huo Yun, derived from Izanami's soul skills, possesses absolutely devouring flames. Even if the flames spread to this side, the devouring flames will directly devour the opponent's flames, and it can also integrate the opponent's flame into its own attack power to achieve a nearly perfect attack. It can be said that, as long as he has a soul skill like devouring flame, even if he encounters a soul master of the flame system, he is basically enhancing Fei's attack power, so there is no need to be afraid at all. Want to use fire? The devouring flame is a dark purple flame. The moment it touched the air, the entire black mist twisted, as if the black mist was disturbed by the terrifying devouring flame. The devouring flames frantically absorbed the surrounding flames, and absorbed the remaining flames around them into its own power, and instantly scattered towards the camp of the clones. And along with the advancing devouring flames, it also changed from the original fist size to a range of almost 1 meter. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master, 6. But one must not underestimate the devouring flame, which only has a range of 1 meter. The soul skills released by the soul ring with the nature of Izanami will be endowed with different devouring properties. Others are like the most basic blue-silver grass, or the engulfing effect given by deadwood vines did not strengthen itself, but fed back to Ji-Fei, who performed the soul skill. But the fire cloud crane martial soul was different. The Huan Wuhan is almost an explosive attack type Wuhan, and it doesn't have the nature of feeding back. Therefore, the flame breath erupted by the Huan Wuhan is enough to offset all melting. Does not have Izanami's devouring flame attack. If it is a flame attack with a devouring nature, then facing a fire type soul master is the best assist. In the flame field, Ji-Fei's own soul power level is accompanied by terror, and with the re-engraved martial soul transformed by the chaotic martial soul. With the blessing, the Huan Wuhan can be considered to have reached the top series among the fire type Wuhan. Although it may not be comparable to those of the legendary level, as long as it is a Wuhan with a flame attribute, it will not be afraid of anything. This is the power of the Chaos Villain to transform and engrave the martial soul, and this is the specialness of Izanami's soul ring. After all, an existence like Izanami, even if it is 1,000-year level 1, cannot be underestimated. Very scary. After the devouring flame passed by, the surrounding air seemed to condense together, and there was a piercing roar. Duplicate Qian's fireball was continuously integrated into the main body of the devouring flame, and the dark purple flame was like the extinction flame blooming in hell, and fell fiercely towards the 7 replicas. Rumble. It was beyond imagination. The fire waves aroused by the flames drove a huge wind and almost didn't directly push Ji-Fei into the trapped pillar. Fortunately, although such fire waves counted as wind, they were far from enough to capture the strength of Izanami's martial soul. To the extent that the nightmare blows away, the nightmare soul ability is so peculiar, it is even very similar to a piece of your own domain. In such a black fog, the opponent's strength and various abilities will be relatively suppressed, and at the same time, he will lose his vision. But Ji-Fei is completely different. He has a complete vision, and has no restrictions. There will also be a certain chance of improving the body's senses in various aspects, which is terrifying. From this point of view alone, the Nightmare Soul ability is a series of suppressive soul skills that can attack, defend, control, and weaken. It is hard to imagine that such a terrifying soul ability only appears in 1000-year level soul rings superior. A wave of fluctuations hit, and Ji-Fei tried hard to see clearly what the opponent's formation had become. It should be very tragic, right? No matter how bad it is, at least the Linoop will be devastated, right? After all, the power of the devouring flame is too terrifying. Seeing the messy, potholed ground and the pitch black scorched earth all around seemed to have the breath of death, Ji-Fei couldn't believe that the other party would still be bouncing around like a normal person under such a desperate blow. Yi Lanshan had already come up. She frowned and looked at the white mist of a special medium formed by the airwaves gathered in the distance, which seemed to surround the replicas. What happened? It was only at this time that Ji-Fei noticed that Yi Lanshan had already climbed up. Ji-Fei looked at the thin layer of white mist that suddenly rose and said, "I counterattacked just now. The opponent copied the powerful flame attack used by Yan, so I also counterattacked the power of the devouring flame." Yi Lanshan knew all about Ji-Fei's methods. After all, as long as Ji-Fei was thinking and imagining, Yi Lanshan would have known Ji-Fei's thoughts. Do you want to take a look at the situation in the place? It doesn't feel like it will cause too much damage. Yi Lanshan said something slowly, but it was a bit unbelievable that such a powerful and fierce flame attack could not cause harm to the opponent, then let people beat them down. Although the flame of devouring didn't consume much of Ji-Fei's soul power just now, it was absolutely thin and Ji-Fei took a serious blow. If this can't cause damage to the opponent, maybe Ji-Fei should change his strategy. The black mist and the white mist, it's quite confrontational. Aura of the beloved fog god, turn all damage into a ray of breeze, to blow away the layers of confusion in front of you. Before Ji-Fei and Yi Lanshan could react, a familiar voice came from the other party's camp. This time, it was not Ji-Fei's voice, but Yi Lanshan's. As soon as the words fell, Ji-Fei felt a gust of wind blowing towards them crazily like a destructive force. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, all the black mist released by his Nightmare Soul skill was completely blown away. Dispersed. And at the same time, when the black mist dissipated, Ji-Fei saw the opponent's formation. The opponent's current formation. One is not bad, it doesn't look injured at all, and even the traces of the scorched ground around it disappeared without a trace, as if there was no attack from the devouring flame just now. If it wasn't for Jifei's side, if there were some remaining traces in a relatively close place, Jifei would definitely believe that the flame of devouring that he just did not cause any damage at all, not even whether he used the flame of devouring or not. Is still a matter of opinion. The power of a god master. My duplicate body was also endowed with the power of a god master by the immortal teacher, and the effect of my martial soul is the same as that of a healing god master. You only need to read the spell to activate the corresponding effect. This is not some kind of healing god teacher. After all, god masters are not divided into departments. As long as they have the corresponding spells, they can burst out with corresponding power. Jifei was completely shocked by Yi Lanshan's words. Can this still be called a healing soul master? For a soul master of the healing department, he should also heal his teammates, right? But what happened to the other party copying Yi Lanshan? Not only did they completely protect their teammates, but they also completely changed the surrounding environment. The damage caused by the devouring flame seemed to have never appeared before, and unexpectedly it can also generate such a strong wind. The attribute of the violent wind was too powerful, and it directly blew away Jifei's first soul skill, Nightmare Mist, which was something Jifei had never encountered before. My Nightmare Soul ability is still being released, but the resulting mist has been completely suppressed. Isn't this too suppressed? Could it be that you have been watching our entertainment just now? Don't make a move, hateful. End of this chapter. Chapter 245 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 7. The sudden wind dispelled all the mist created by Jifei's soul skills. This meant that Jifei and Yi Lanshan were completely exposed to each other's sight. At the same time, if the other party attacked, Jifei with Yi Lanshan and Yi Lanshan will not have any shelter. Is it the power of a divine master again? I really didn't expect to have such a special power that can blow away even my nightmare mist. Jifei looked at the 7 clones not far away, and the surrounding terrain that had been restored. The 7 opponents were still standing in the same position as before. If the opponent could talk freely, they would definitely mock Jifei. Unilateral suppression? The other party didn't seem to plan to make a move. Yes, Jifei and Yi Lanshan were exposed at this moment. If the other party wanted to attack, Jifei would definitely be defeated in an instant. No, even if it wasn't in an instant, Jifei and Yi Lanshan can also attack Jifei and Yi Lanshan with 7 people. No matter how powerful Jifei and Yi Lanshan's methods are, they can't defeat the attack of the other 7 copies, right? At the same time, in an unknown place, undead Douluo and Gua Gua were sitting upright, and they seemed to be talking about something. Immortal Douluo looked at the scene in the cave and just smiled, and at the same time, said to Gua Gua beside him, I've already lost. It seems that I don't need any full strength at all. Pure suppression. One-sided suppression. Gua Gua said, of course it is suppression. Of course, the power of a god master is not comparable to that of a soul master, and you, greedy dad, directly controlled the opponent first. Getting it under control has brought the fight to an end from the start. Undead Douluo nodded. That's right, but it's also considered control, right? Although it can't simulate a martial spirit, it's all about control and healing, so winning or losing is like this, right? Gua Gua continued. Then the battle is over like this? If it's just over like this, you can't see Jifei's strength at all, right? But now Jifei doesn't know how to use his own power. Otherwise, greedy dad, it is also impossible for you, a divine master, to be able to defeat Brother Destroyer. Immortal Douluo said playfully. That's right, I also know that, if this is the case, these little guys will definitely complain that the other party doesn't play cards according to the routine. Obviously, in common sense, the Soul Master battle is to be released by the auxiliary Soul Master first. Soul skills to fight, but this old man fights with control first. But this is also very normal. After all, the battle between Soul Masters is like this, but there is no rule that you must fight according to the rules. Undying Douluo's original purpose was actually to let them see the gap clearly. When Soul Masters have the same level, the same soul skills and even the same attack methods, let Jifei and the others see what a Soul Master at this stage should have the power of. Jifei became a Soul Master, At this age, a soul master with a soul power of level 33 is almost the top existence, but such an achievement is actually nothing in the eyes of undead Douluo. At most, he is just a soul master, it's just a genius. For undead Douluo, the real power is definitely not the level of the soul master in front of you. After all, if you are a high level, there will always be someone higher than your level. At the same time, this level will not last long growing up. For undead Douluo, at this stage, Fei, Zu and others are still in a critical state of fixed mentality. According to this age, soul masters are probably still learning the knowledge of soul master cultivation, or enjoying the normal life. The joyful feeling of being a soul master, right? But Fei and his group are different, completely different. They have many things to improve, and even more things to improve. Immortal Douluo looked at Guagua who was beside him, and asked at the same time. Quack, if you had a choice, would you choose to end the battle now, or do it again? Let the clones fight them again. Guagua thought for a while, but it is not difficult to see that undying Douluo really asked it. There are actually several situations in this situation. Guagua said, if you are greedy dad, your purpose is simply to destroy my brother. They know the gap, and know that they should improve. If this is the end, the goal has been achieved. But I don't think it should be like this. It shouldn't be let they know the gap in their own strength, because now it is a trial, and what they need to face in the trial is a real battle, not a temptation, let alone let brother destroyer and the others recognize the reality. Besides, just like what you said just now, Dad greedy, you directly control them all, and there is no way to escape. Once you climb up, you will be attacked by the soul skills you have already mastered, so they are already dead. There is no room for resistance anymore. This is also an incorrect method. They cannot resist. What is the point of such a trial? To put it bluntly, this is completely an entertainment venue for you, greedy dad. Originally, I thought that you would come up with such a way, greedy dad, because you must want them to fight. After all, they have always fought with soul beasts, and have never cooperated with soul masters, but I never thinking about it. What you want to do, is to let them recognize the gap in the strength they should have at this stage. Undead Douluo just smiled. This is nothing to him. Fei and his group are still young, and there is still time for them to experience the training, and fighting like devils. It is still a big deal for them now, not enough. Experiencing failure is growth, and winning victoriously only means that the opponent is too weak. Well, since you have said so, the old man also wants to see what a real soul master fights. What do you say? The power of the god master is too strong in an equal state. Well, you go and catch 2,000-year-old soul beasts, 2 soul beasts that replace Fei and Lanshan, and then tame them, and let them fight. That's okay, right? Maybe we can win in this way. The sense of banter in undead Douluo's eyes became stronger, as if the battle was already over, but he just wanted to deal a heavier blow to Fei and the others, so that they could truly recognize the current reality. Guagua thought for a while, then turned into a cloud of blue smoke, and disappeared from the spot in an instant. Immortal Douluo continued to stare at the scene in the cave, and then seemed to have fallen into deep contemplation. End of this chapter. Chapter 246 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 8. The two sides confront each other, and Fei is sure that what he is experiencing now is the confrontation between the two sides. However, it seems a bit inaccurate to describe the confrontation in this way. It should be said that Fei and Lanshan were watching each other in place. That's right, watching the 7 replicas. From the very beginning, Fei and Lanshan had been watching each other without taking any action. The sense of powerlessness spreading over Fei now was extremely special. These 7 guys didn't make a move. It seemed that undying Douluo didn't control them to attack, but just stared at them. Fei wanted to rescue other people, but was afraid that the other party would suddenly attack again. So we are stuck in the current embarrassing confrontation situation. Lanshan, do you think we are losing now, or what? If Master Immortal says we are losing, then quickly remove these mirror images. Brother Zu and the others may feel uncomfortable staying in the trapped pillar, right? Fei still use the sound transmission between him and Lanshan. After all, even talking now may cause the other party to attack. After all, who knows whether the 7 mirror images are under the control of undead Douluo or attack automatically. Woolen cloth. We lost. We have already lost from the very beginning. There is no comparison between a God Master and a Soul Master. Besides, you have seen it yourself. If we want to save other people, they will attack. We can't get close at all. The other party also has a reciting spell similar to the field recovery type. I'm sure, even if we destroy one or two of the mirror images, as long as my copy is still there, it can be restored after the reciting is over. Fei looked at the other party in surprise, recalling the scene where the attack of the devouring flames disappeared in an instant. Yes, the so-called God Master is really too powerful. No matter how powerful the healing Soul Master is, it may not be able to match it. After all, even the surrounding area, including the ground, can be recovered. Can a Soul Master possess such soul skills? If there really is a Soul Master with such a soul skill, which soul skill should it belong to? Copying Yi Lanshan is nothing more than reciting a sentence to produce such an effect. So what should we do now? Is it possible to wait like this? It seems that the 7 people on the opposite side don't have any feeling of disappearing at all. Yi Lanshan replied, we can only wait for this. After all, we may have been targeted by the opponent's soul skills. If we can draw in the distance and fight the opponent in close combat, we may counterattack, but it is very difficult. Melee combat? It is true that, if you can get closer to the other party, to restrain the other party, then you can save other people, but the other party's soul skills may have already been aimed at him and Yi Lanshan. If you want to take any action, you will definitely be able to deal with it in an instant. Fei and Yi Lanshan attacked frantically. Are you going to wait like this forever? Although Fei felt that his patience was pretty good, he definitely didn't have the ability to keep eye contact with his opponent. Right, it's not embarrassment or danger. Yi Lanshan replied, we can only wait for this. Maybe Teacher Immortal is watching somewhere. Maybe he will remove the lichen and other binding spells after he knows that we have lost the battle. Looking at the trapped pillars around, this is a copy of Fei's spell called Lichen Team. The power is to trap all of them here, and the lichen will not be destroyed by external forces. This is the most terrifying thing place. The power and destructiveness of the deed of the underworld can definitely be destroyed if it is a simple stone wall, but in the face of lichen, although it has caused substantial damage, it will return to its previous appearance in the blink of an eye. Lanshan, is Teacher Immortal also a divine master? An existence more powerful than a soul master? Don't you need to obtain a soul ring to increase your soul power level? Yi Lanshan replied, yes, Teacher Undead was considered a god teacher before. Of course, he has been practicing like a soul master for a short time. This is not the real method of Teacher Undead. After all, according to the migration of the mainland and the changes of the years, this land does the mainland have more than just soul masters? With such a powerful power, a single incantation is probably comparable to the 6 or 7 soul skills of ordinary soul masters, right? Fei felt that the power of the spell might be a bit low. If it was a 6 or 7 soul skill, maybe only the 8 or 9 soul skill like title Douluo could achieve such an effect. Yi Lanshan continued to reply through voice transmission. The God Master has long since disappeared in this era. If other people are considered as replicas, then your replicas and I are considered to be doll-like existences made by the undead teacher. Can't think but can bestow special spells. Speaking spirit spells are chanting just now, and then gathering strength to cause attacks or transformations. Copying Fei is only one move. If there are 2 remaining moves, what kind of effect will it have if they are used? Can you try this? After all, without absolute strength, who knows if there will be danger? At this moment, the terrain and the entire cave began to change drastically. Originally, Fei was still communicating with Yi Lanshan, but suddenly the surrounding environment began to change. The trapped column made of lichen dissipated in an instant, and the entire terrain began to return to its previous state. Xiao and others who were originally trapped in lichen Zhuangzi also returned to their original state. At least now there is nothing to restrain them. Recovered? Fei and Yi Lanshan landed steadily on the ground, and at the same time, the mirror images in the distance were still standing in place and staring at them. But the strange phenomenon was that the duplicating Fei and the duplicating Yi Lanshan disappeared, replaced by what is 2 soul beasts. Yes, 2 very special soul beasts. The one that replaced Fei in front didn't have any special appearance. It looked like an ape. Yes, an ape. about 2 feet tall. Mi's appearance doesn't seem to be very flexible, and the replaced Yilanshan standing behind is a group of white flowers similar to ice crystals. These are not soul beasts, but plants, but there is a special halo around him. The appearance seems to exaggerate the special vitality of the surroundings. So, what happened? Fei, what's going on? Did you save us? And those people? Ziyu rubbed her eyes, and the trapped pillars around her finally disappeared, as if the air around her was fresh. He had never felt that kind of carefree and special comfort. Perhaps this was the result of long-term depression. In another environment, although you can stay here before, you can also feel extra comfortable and carefree. Similarly, Fei also stared at the other side in surprise. End of this chapter. Chapter 247 Beyond the Power of a Soul Master. 9. The Linoop of the opponent's clones changed, and the Lycan trap disappeared, and Ziyu and others who were originally imprisoned were also released. Did we lose? So Teacher Undead let go of Ziyu and the others? Fei shook his head. It seems that it is not that simple. The other part is thinking, is not that simple. If Undying Douluo thinks that they have lost, and there is no result of fighting, then the replicas can be completely taken back. Fei and his group returned in vain, and couldn't pass through the cave, so they lost. But, Fei was somewhat surprised by the sudden change in Linoop. Do you want us to fight again? And the changed mirror image Linoop. As soon as Fei said this, the others were more or less at a loss. They have been comfortably trapped by Lycan for such a long time. Everyone's condition seems to be not so good, and everyone feels a little overwhelmed by what happened in front of them, and what just happened. At the beginning, I didn't see what happened between Fei, Yilanshan and these mirror images. Fighting soul beasts. How can soul beasts fight soul masters with all their strength? Yan stopped before he finished speaking. He suddenly remembered that there is this guy called Quack, as a super soul beast. He definitely has the power to tame soul beasts, right? Maybe the soul beasts in the entire Lost Canyon must obey its orders. Isn't it normal for this guy to want to bring 2 soul beasts to fight with the soul beasts? It's still the same as before. If I'm not wrong, these 2 soul beasts are also fighting us under the control of the undead teacher. Yilanshan suddenly spoke, and at the same time she looked at Fei. It seems that Teacher Undead wants us to fight again. The previous crushing was entirely due to the special power possessed by the duplicates of me and Fei. The purpose of cooperation has not been achieved, so Teacher Undead wants us to fight with them again. And if I'm not wrong, this time the battle should be to use the normal opening battle of the Soul Masters, not to use it on a whim control. Hulina recalled the situation just now. Obviously she still had some fear. Actually, it's not that I'm afraid that the other party will take control first, but the other party's control is too strange and powerful, right? Since it's a clone. Fei, you also have this kind of control. Soul skills? They are simply driving us to death. Fei shook his head. He didn't have such soul skills and martial souls. If he really did, would he still need to release the nightmare soul skills in every battle, go straight up, and give the opponent a cylinder to lock it firmly? Wouldn't that be slaughtered? The battle has become extremely simple, and there is no need for any bells and whistles. Just like just now, the suppression on the one hand, and it is still the kind of suppression that has no power to fight back. Zhu Jiangxing also echoed, that's right, the pillar is completely used as an invincible control to restrain us. Even if I use sword energy, I can't penetrate the pillar, and even if I smash some stone pillars a little bit to open a gap, but in the blink of an eye, it will be restored in an instant. Yan also nodded. Before, I wanted to use the second soul skill to fly up and save you all, but I wondered if the opponent would just wait for us to show up and attack them one by one. Like a game of gophers. Do you know the game of whack-a-mole? And the imagination is too rich, right? But it seems to be really. Fei teased secretly, but in retrospect, it really was when they wanted to save people. Sometimes the opponent is attacking as a turret that outputs soul skills. Perhaps the attack is not the main purpose, but just to interfere, or Undead Douluo has regarded this as a special game from the beginning. We are also too weak, and the other party can't move if they control us. We lost too badly. I thought that with our soul power, we would be the top existence at this age, but it seems that we are still too weak far away. Huora said, a little discouraged, but thinking about it, this is the first time for them to fight a soul master, right? What's more, what they are facing is a copy of the scene that has exactly the same soul skills as them, but they have nothing to do with each other. This is really too miserable, and this misery may still be accompanied by the next. Fei suddenly said, do you really think we are too weak? Yes, we may be too weak in the eyes of the other party, but are we really inferior to others? The answer is absolutely no. The oldest of the 7 of us is only 10 years old, but we already have more than 2 years old. The spirit power of 10th level, this is only a few months. We can grow to such a level. Can this become weak? Each of us has a spirit ring of the most top-notch existence, and we have unique cultivation resources, and we are taught by a mysterious title Douluo with absolute power and a terrifying soul beast. Are we inferior to others? We can't completely deny ourselves just because of one failure, right? Don't forget, why did Master Undead give us the name of 7 emotions, which he cherishes the most? It's not that we are here because of just one failure. When we start to give up on ourselves, we should work harder and work hard to overcome all obstacles on our way to becoming stronger. This is our goal. Perhaps Teacher Undead chose to let us go through such a battle because he wanted us to recognize our fear of failure and our psychological fragility. Now you see. Fei raised his hand and pointed at the mirror images not far away. The purpose of Teacher Undead is also very simple now. It is to let us fight these guys again. This time without the clones of me and Yi Lanshan. Will you still be afraid? No. You, including me and Yi Lanshan in the beginning, we shouldn't be afraid of anything. We just need to grow from the battle and constantly learn from the opponent's advantages to make up for our own disadvantages. We are too self-confident. We always feel that a serious soul master should copy the soul in the battle. The master will start the battle and then start the formal battle, but the soul master's battle is to win. Why do we do it so rigidly? Fei looked deeply at Ziyu and the others, who lowered their heads and fell into deep thought and said in a vibrating voice, our goal will never change. Victory is only victory. End of this chapter. Chapter 248, Surprise Attack. 1. Fei's words are very inspiring. Yes, very inspiring. In an instant, it seemed that the special sense of loneliness imposed on Ziyu and the others dissipated in an instant, and even Yi Lanshan, who was originally silent, showed a smile. That special unity seemed to be able to solve any difficulties lost. At least they won't take too much into account this time. Those who have already lost will not have anything to take into account. For Fei and the others, if they have a goal or a task, it is their bondage. At this moment, Fei himself understands the meaning of croaking. Why do you ask 3 questions? It's not that he doesn't want to tell them, or that Guagua doesn't know. It's just that Guagua doesn't want to put any pressure on them. If it was said a long time ago that Fei and his group were going to face their mirror images, how would Fei and the others imagine it? I'm afraid they will start discussing countermeasures a long time ago, right? And the countermeasures discussed in this way may not necessarily be able to successfully resolve the opponent's situation. Moreover, Fei and his group will get themselves into an endless loop where the opponent is themselves, which is not a good omen. Fei, what do you say we should do? I will listen to you. As the core of our team, we all believe in you. As the leader of their team, Ziyu must first determine his goal. Ziyu is also an arrogant guy. How could he lose so embarrassingly when facing the mirror image body, which is just a copy of them? Don't have any strength to fight back at all. This can't be done. Absolutely can't be done. Ziyu expressed her attitude and the others quickly echoed it. It seemed that they were not convinced by the failure just now. Fei looked towards the top of the mountain, as if he had found a familiar aura, and suddenly smiled. Mr. Immortal, is that what you think? Well, it's so. First of all, we need to know that the opponent is our auxiliary body and has more power than our main body. Everyone should have such awareness when facing my auxiliary body just now. Everyone nodded, like in Zhuangzi. They were all tortured by this thing, so the memory is very deep, and after copying Fei, they also understand the truth. Even if it is arrogant in real when fighting, you also need to have a speed that defeats the opponent first before mocking. Looking at the resolute expression on everyone's face, Fei felt a little unnaturally emotional. He didn't expect that one day he could become a central point, and Yi Lanshan was by his side. No matter what difficulties and obstacles, he would always be by his side. I have no reason to lose. The opponent now lacks the clones of me and Lanshan, that is to say, there is no strong first-hand control, but the two new guys are not easy to provoke. They seem to be soul beasts that have never been seen before. You know what type of soul beast is it? If we know, we might be able to understand what the opponent's ability is. However, from a guess, the ape soul beast that replaced my clone should be fighting as a controlled type soul master. Of course, it is not ruled out. After all, the ape should be of the agility attack system, but the strange white ice crystal flower that replaces the copying one's hand should be a plant of the copying system. Everyone looked at each other. Apparently they didn't know what type of soul beast the ape and the ice crystal flower were, and what kind of abilities they would possess. Yi Lanshan suddenly said, that flower seems to be a plant called ice crystal blue, which has extremely powerful healing and recovery effects, and also has a special irritability. If I remember correctly, if when encountering an attack, the ice crystal blue will retract below the ground to avoid the attack, and the speed is extremely fast, but it can reach 1 meter underground in the blink of an eye. And the appearance of the ice crystal blue seems to be the same as my normal healing. The spirit leaf also needs to be attached to the wounded. It will peel off the leaves for healing. The effect refers to my first soul skill and healing power. As for the ape, it should be a unique soul beast in the Lost Canyon. I'm not very clear about that. That's enough. Knowing the copying system, we can limit each other. Do you want to restore all the soul power and injuries directly? Ice Crystal Blue seems to be a good name, and it can even automatically avoid attacks. It seems to be a tricky guy. Fei thought for a moment, and seemed to have roughly figured out how to deal with the other party. Since there was no God Master and only Soul Masters were fighting, there was no need to consider the interference of unknown and terrifying forces. Speaking of which, wouldn't the other party feel tired if he kept this kind of martial soul possession? Wouldn't he feel too much soul power consumption? And exuding such a soul power will consume his own soul power even more? Zhu Jiangxing looked at each other's vicious looks, staring at them, as if they were lifelong enemies. If he was that kind of timid, he might be terrified the moment he saw the opponent's formation. Let alone fighting. This is not necessarily the case. Don't forget that, even if our soul power reserve has been kept in the form of martial soul possession, it will not consume much. Besides, it can also create invisible coercion on us. Why not? Why? It seems to be the same reason. In this case, we can't always keep them cold, can we? Let's fight back against them just now, and let them see what is called the power of our 7 emotions. A group of copycats. The body still wants to completely defeat us? One more time. Yan raised his hand and made a provocative gesture to the other party. The feeling of depression before disappeared in an instant. Now he is like a fireball that is about to be ignited. He only needs a special opportunity to completely destroy the other party. Pull into your own flames. Hulina's extremely alluring eyes also touched the opponent's 9-tailed Hulina. Yeah, let us crush the shame just now, and then glue it back to you. Every spirit has the same weakness. There is no absolute single spirit. If you have to say that a soul master has no weaknesses, it is a soul master who can use multiple spirits at the same time, and that person is me. Fei smiled arrogantly. Yes, I'm that kind of person. The existence that can superimpose martial souls, as long as you superimpose them. Even if you want to target the characteristics of martial arts, it is impossible. After all, no matter what you do, powerful means 1 or 2 martial spirits, which are different from my martial spirits, which can change at will. End of this chapter. Chapter 249 Surprise Attack 2. If it is just a competition of martial souls, Fei's own first martial soul, Chaos, really has no specific effect. There is no doubt about this. Although the current Fei has 3 soul rings, without exception, he has not added a soul skill that can be used to Chaos. Apart from the fact that the current Chaos villain looks more humane, there is no other use. Let alone taking out the Chaos martial soul to fight alone. Even if it is in a possessed form, it is nothing more than the Chaos villain sticking to his eyebrows. However, the real way to use the Chaos Martial Soul is that Jifei only discovered that he can re-engrave the Martial Soul and use it superimposed. Unrivaled existence. Jifei's innate level 33 soul power brought Jifei a huge advantage, and the baptism of the evil god spring directly allowed Jifei's own soul power to break through to level in one fell swoop. How long will it take? Jifei just stepped into the journey of soul master training for almost a year. Jifei quickly sorted out the formation for the confrontation. In fact, the so-called formation was not very suitable for the 7 of them. The martial arts of the 7 of them were actually not very even, but they were definitely at the top level as the first attack. This time, Jifei, Ziyu, Yan, and Zhu Jiangxing stood at the front. That's right, as an absolute soul master, Jifei can naturally use any kind of power to fight against each other. A simple isonomy, the martial soul, is no longer enough to satisfy Jifei himself. Besides, this is a shameful battle, and he will never hold back. Of course, it is limited to the first martial soul, and Jifei never wants to use it on his own initiative. Second martial soul. Hu Lina, Yi Lanshan and Hu were ousted together at the back. Protection was no longer the most important means for them. Originally, Jifei wanted Yi Lanshan to stand at the back and divide the Linoop into 3 rows. At least someone should protect Yi Lanshan, but what Yi Lanshan said also made Jifei very concerned. I can use my avatar to create a copy of you to protect me. Just go and fight them, don't worry about me. This made Jifei somewhat concerned. Yes, what I have always wanted to do is how to protect Yi Lanshan, or as long as I can solve the other party with my own strength, but he never seems to think about himself. Cooperating with other people. I don't have the strength of undead Douluo, so relying on others to cooperate with other people is the best defense for the solution. But what Yi Lanshan said is correct, otherwise Jifei would not be at ease exposing Yi Lanshan, an auxiliary system soul master, to the opponent's eyes. After all, Yi Lanshan's soul skills are not simply soul skills to them, but the real key to victory. Standing at the front, Jifei, Ziyu, Yan, and Zhu Jiangxing are facing each other directly. There are 3 people in the front row of the opponent, but the aura they exude is definitely not much lower than Jifei's side, and it is even vaguely higher. At least, this kind of fighting momentum will never be too long. After all, this is not the key to victory. Ziyu was the first to activate the martial soul. He was restrained by the Lycan trap before, so in order not to waste too much soul power, he still chose not to maintain the form of the martial soul. Maybe it was his own determination or he really possessed such power. Jifei, who was standing aside when he released his martial soul this time, could clearly feel that Ziyu's aura had become very powerful, and there was a wave of the special evil spirit. Yes, the evil spirit is not murderous. Just like the aura emanating from the replica, Ziyu has a lot of similarities. Imitation? No, it's not imitation. It should be said to be learning. I have learned from the opponent that my own Wuhan Blood Moon Blade must be the kind of existence with a special evil spirit. Otherwise, there will be no momentum to attack. It seems that Ziyu's comprehension is really good. What Jifei imagined was actually superfluous. After all, how could Ziyu's talent be so bad as a person in the Wuhan Palace? His own comprehension is even more special. Otherwise, how would he have achieved today as a very special weapon soul? The Moon Blade, especially the power of the 2 Moon Blades, needs to test the control of the soul power of the Soul Master. Jifei stood in the middle, with Zhu Jiangxing standing on the right hand side, and Ziyu and Yan on the other side. Zhu Jiangxing's piercing sword intent seemed to intertwine with Ziyu's aura. Such a feeling of wanting to fight for the front is not what Jifei wants to see. After all, such a fight for the front will relatively weaken their strength, so it is better to separate them. Let's go together. Ziyu's extremely recognizable eyes kept looking at each other. Jifei nodded. Let's just drop 10 times with one force, and I will suppress it. After the decline is activated, our soul power will definitely surpass the opponent. The opponent's combat strength is uneven. Although the momentum is terrifying, we are too careful. Being cautious will give the opponent a gap that we can't beat them, so it is the best choice to solve them together. The 7 of us are not very strong in defense. After all, there is only Brother Yan who can be used as a defensive type. But in terms of offense, the team of 7 of us is definitely the top. There is absolutely no benefit for us in the strong attack system, so it is the best interpretation of our Linoop to strike first. Yan was very excited when he heard that Ji-Fei was going to charge up directly. For him, blindly defending or being cautious is completely aggrieved, especially it makes him have a special feeling of am I dying? Hahaha, Xiaofei, we should have done this a long time ago. What's the point of testing or not? Look at your second brother Yan. I will go up to the Fire Fist and beat them to death one by one. No, brother Yan, you are the key point to launch the surprise attack. A very important key point. After a while, after Lan Shan uses the avatar, it will be time for you and your avatar to fly together. That's fine, of course. You must come for the battle after the surprise attack. Yan seems to have thought of the scene where he rushed up. It must be beautiful. Well, for him, fighting is the most beautiful. Similarly, only when he is fighting can he find his own special belonging feel. Okay, Xiaofei, just wait for my good news. End of this chapter. Chapter 250 Surprise Attack 3. As the first attacking side, there is no need to take too much into account. On the contrary, the more complicated ones will drag down the Linoop of a team like Ji-Fei. This is a true and valuable conclusion from the previous attempts. Martial Soul, Possession. The Eye's enemy spirit is still the Eye's enemy spirit. The spirit Ji-Fei is best at using is definitely the Eye's enemy spirit. At the same time, the Eye's enemy spirit, which is a possessive type, has the ability to control, and the level of weakening of power is very powerful. 3 soul rings gradually emerged, traces of soul power were perfectly wrapped in the soul rings, and a very special breath was continuously released, which belonged to Eye's enemy's breath. It seemed that they felt Ji-Fei's special aura beside him. Yan and Ziyu who were standing beside him couldn't help but frowned. This feeling actually made them feel a little depressed. This is how the same thing. But in the blink of an eye, all the 7 emotions released their spirits and entered the most exciting moment. Yi Lanshan's second and third spirit skills were activated together, and they were still familiar incarnations before. This time it was different from before. Yes, it is completely different. Just now Yi Lanshan said that he wanted to condense an incarnation of Ji-Fei. Did Ji-Fei still think that he couldn't condense his own incarnation? But he saw that there was no hesitation on Yi Lanshan's face, as if he knew that she must be the incarnation of Ji-Fei who could condense it, so he didn't ask any more questions. But I never expected that now it really condensed and stood beside Ji-Fei. The appearance of this incarnation is exactly the same as that of Ji-Fei, who is possessed by his enemy's martial soul, and also has 3 soul rings suspending up and down. The soul power flowing on his body is exactly the same as Ji-Fei's, and the soul power level has reached levels successively. Lanshan? What's going on here? Didn't you say that I can't copy my avatar? Why now? Ji-Fei quickly asked Yi Lanshan what was the reason through voice transmission in his mind. At least he needed to understand the sudden change. Then Yi Lanshan's voice sounded, it was impossible before, but now it is possible. There is no reason. If I have to say, I didn't know much about my martial soul before, and I didn't know much about the use of soul skills. Now don't you feel that even the level of my soul curse is stronger than before? Ji-Fei turned around and took a look at Yi Lanshan. There were 3 light green spirit rings floating on Yi Lanshan's body. These were spirit rings that she had never seen before, and Yi Lanshan herself said that she didn't know much about martial spirits, and what he doesn't understand is his own martial soul. Isn't this somewhat strange? But now Ji-Fei doesn't have time to worry about these things. It's better to have his own avatar, so that the goal of protecting Yi Lanshan will be easier. Yan took a step forward suddenly, terrifying flames surged from top to bottom of his body. The breath of the flames was amazing. The Flame Lord's martial soul proclaimed his mighty power like a demon. Everything must be surrendered to him under the flames. Yan's flames are not the pure color of the flames. When Ji-Fei first came into contact with them before, all he saw were fiery red flames, but now for some unknown reason, Yan's flames are gradually turning towards black. Yes, the pure black flame seems to be burning in the void. As the first mover, what he needs to release is his powerful aura to suppress the pressure that the opponent has previously put on their overall personnel. He is definitely a man who can bring the name of 7 emotions from normal to cruel, violent and invincible. Ji-Fei smiled slightly, and a ball of black mist gradually condensed in his palm. Nightmare. Ji-Fei will not use any basic coordination this time. After all, if he wants to win, he must use all his strength. Dark Moon Evil Beast. Possessed. Blue Silver Grass. Show. Withered Wood and Vines. Obviously. Fire Cloud Crane. Possessed. A total of 15 soul rings. The real 15 soul rings. Ji-Fei seems to have reached the limit of re-engraving martial soul points, and for him now, 5 martial souls have almost reached a limit. Although the current Ji-Fei has the power of the soul master level, he is too young, and his small body can't bear such a terrible power, let alone release so many replica martial souls together. Hey, what's going on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. Fei has 15 spirit rings? I'll go. What level is this? Has he surpassed title Douluo? How can he have 15 spirit rings? Isn't that level 150? It seems. The 3 people around Ji-Fei opened their mouths in surprise and couldn't believe it was real. But seeing the 15 spirit rings floating back and forth on Ji-Fei's body, they couldn't believe it. Especially when the 5 spirits were released together. Ji-Fei's appearance changed drastically. Of course, his height was still almost in the figure he should have at this age. First of all, the face. The original lavender hair instantly turned white. Yes, white. The flowing white hair seems to have the power to integrate all soul power, and at the same time Ji-Fei's small face appeared a few special lines around the eye sockets. The blue line and the blue line seems to be the power of the Dark Moon Evil Beast, and at the same time, a little feather grows from the wrist and the sides of the cheek, and the original lavender eyes become deeper and dignified. Just at this moment, Hulina spoke. You only saw the 15 spirit rings on Fei's body, but have you ever thought about how much pressure and spirit power it takes to support such a strength? They have never heard of such a situation, but judging from Ji-Fei's current state of silence, it is indeed like this, and the state does not seem to be very good. But it was also because of this that Ziyu and the others were able to truly feel an inexplicably powerful force from Ji-Fei, so strong that they could break through several levels in a row. Ji-Fei's avatar still only has one Izanami martial soul. It seems that this is also because Yi Lanshan does not really control her own martial soul, but this is okay. As a control system soul master, it is still possible to protect a Yi Lanshan. Yes, after all, the combat power possessed by a control system soul master is almost invincible in one-on-one. As long as you control the best nodes, then the battle is a sure thing for a control system soul master. Is that so? Fei, you actually chose to fight under such pressure. I'm really ashamed. As your boss, well, Fei, in this battle, I have to show my evil spirit. The true power of the moon and the blood moon blade. End of this chapter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.